This podcast is brought to you by JList.com. Well, it's wintertime in Japan, and so it's no longer hot, and that means chocolates are safe. Safe from the cold, and JList knows this. You can head over to JList.com or JBox.com, the non-adult mirror site, and you can experience some of the most incredible chocolate snacks from Japan. They have dozens of Kit Kat flavors, including my favorite, the legendary green tea Kit Kat. So freaking good. They have Japan's favorite Melty Kiss delectable chocolate snacks. Those are fantastic. Pocky flavors that you only find in Japan. And let me tell you, all these products are around $3 or less. So if you head over to JList.com or again, the non-adult mirror site, JBox.com, you can get your chocolate and Japanese snack fix. This podcast is also brought to you by Bookwalker. Do you have a craving for manga or light novels? Then you can head over to Bookwalker and check out their large selection of digital manga and light novels. They also offer a free book once a month, and you can use their coin reward program where every purchase gets you closer to receiving a free book. Go to global.bookwalker.jp and sign up, and when you do that, creating a new account, you can use the promo code AAAPOD to get 600 yen off your first purchase. That'll be like your first manga's almost free. That is AAAPOD, the promo code. We're making a new account over at global.bookwalker.jp. And now it's time to start the podcast.
来てくれてありがとう You're listening to the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. Take your anime addiction to the next level at aaapodcast.com/join. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 505th episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. Thank you for joining this audio program through whatever occult means you manage of finding it, or perhaps even this visual program on Twitch or YouTube, where we stream every Sunday at 5 p.m. EST, which stands for Estimated Start Time. If you are listening to this, that means, like us, you have successfully made it to 2020. And if you're listening to this as a retrospective from the future, use this as proof to let them know that I was one of the good ones and was always on their side. Speaking of sides, with me are the folks that will help me to make your anime addiction worse. To my left on screen and geographical left is the resolute Mandi. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Sorry, I had to check it. I was like, to your left is right. I was thinking the right of the screen. Sorry.
Yeah. Mandi,
I'm doing good. Hey guys.
With Beastars and Dorohedoro coming up, why are all these animal boys so precious? What's with that?
Why do we not have more deer men? Handsome deer men. Handsome young bucks.
And beneath me and to my geographical far left is the resolutioned Mitsugi. How's it going, my friend?
Doing pretty good. I'm going to open this. Oh, this orange monster. Happy to be here. Mason, you have a very unique flair when you're hosting the podcast, I must say. It's very... You just never know. You just never know what's going to happen. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, because I also always forget to introduce myself. I'm Mason. But I wanted to ask you this. Now, looking at past trends and current forecasts, do you expect a continued rise in your sentencing of moe girls to the anime pit of hell in 2020?
Well, I'll tell you right now, the Pope of the Church of Mitsuki, myself, and of course the Church of Mitsuki, we have some big plans for 2020. I don't want to lay them all out there just yet, but we did indeed subject a record number of moe girls to the pit of hell in 2019, and there just doesn't seem to be any shortage of supply of them. So I can only imagine that we will at least continue on our current trajectory, but we're always trying to do our best, and I do appreciate you asking, Mason.
But of course, so you've heard it here first, folks. So, besides hearing all that stuff, we have a cavalcade of additional podcast episodes, which you can find by going to our website, aaapodcast.com/join, where we have hentai episodes. We got hundreds of those. We got hobby addicts. Nearly at episode 200 of that, we just talked about some Switch games I've been playing, some Black Mirror episodes that Mandi has been watching, and Mitz went a deep dive into the first round of the NFL playoffs, and it was so exciting. What else? Oh, we have after parties. Yeah, tons of those. You already know. Additionally, we have, as I mentioned earlier, tons of social media on Twitch, Facebook, Discord. You can find all the links from our main website. From that Discord, so much has been going on. We finally posted the links to the poll for the best of 2019. So if you've got any opinions of the last year, that's the place to go show it. We've been watching stuff from the last season, or from the new season. Last night we watched a bunch of new shows. I take my prediction back. I said it was going to be the year of goofy girls doing goofy things. I'm wrong. This is actually the year of the hooded cape, or cloak as some people call it. Every good show has them. I don't know what's up with it, but I love it. Additionally, Mandi and I are playing Danganronpa. We took a little holiday break, but we're going to be back at it shortly. So get excited for that.
Keyword trying.
We're doing our darndest, you know? We can't be killing kids every single day of the week.
Yeah, I was really sick Friday, so I wasn't able to stream.
So what's going on with Manga Club, though?
Manga Club. Guys, we're coming back this Wednesday, the 8th, with 4 volumes. We're reading 4 volumes, or discussing 4 volumes of Steel Ball Run, JoJo. So if you would like to join us, go to the Discord, please, and go down to the Manga Club channel. Check out that pin note, and you can find out the chapters that we are reading. So you don't have much time, and it's 4 volumes. That's a lot of reading. We had about a whole month to read all of this, so please join. It'll be fun.
Please do it. Please. Oh, it's so much fun. Additionally, Anime Club. It's not this week as in the current present, but January 15th, we are discussing the entire first season of Durarara, all 24 episodes. So check that out, and that'll be at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Discord. So please swing by and say hi. It's a ton of fun. But this episode, oh boy, we have a humdinger for you. A humdinger.
That's humdinger?
A humdinger.
That's a word the kids use in 2020, right? That's very fashionable.
Anyway. Slap my Nathan.
We have our topic is, each of us has brought a ton of topics to talk about. So it's going to be a mishmash of all sorts of things. But also, we had the long-awaited review of Vinland Saga. This has been talked about in hushed voices for eons by Mandi and company, and now we'll finally get to our verdict on it.
Listen, guys, one of us might not make it to the end of the episode to do the review because we've been watching so much Vinland Saga that someone might just bring an axe down upon someone else's head and drink their blood before this episode is over.
I am just realizing that it is fitting that the Vikings, the NFL team, has emerged victorious in their game today.
That's
almost
true.
As a sign, a sigil of the good omens of this show to come. So, the universe is aligned.
I need like a drop. I need a drop of Thorkel just like slaughtering people. We have everybody's favorite like bang drop. Where the hell did I put that? Our soundboard has become so bloated that I can't actually find anything on it. But we have the bang drop of from Inuyashiki, and we could easily have a drop of like Thorkel just like slaughtering mass crowds of people, and then like eating meat, because that's what he does pretty much, right? Oh, yeah,
I love Thorkel so much.
I love the sentiment of adding more drops as the difficulty of finding drops becomes an issue.
Yeah, there's about 120 drops on this board, so it's I can't find anything. Help me, please help.
Well, anything else we want to housekeep away before we get into our big news of the week?
Yes, actually. I am doing nominations right now with other podcasts for our anime Oscars. I'll probably take those for about another week. And then next week, you'll probably be able to vote for the anime Oscars. I'm going to give people about a month to do it. So look forward to that.
Excellent. Well, then let's just jump right into it. Sorry, the chat was talking about keep your hands off Azokin, and I just had to let them know that I acknowledge it. Anyway, moving on.
It's time for big news of the week.
All right, so big news of the week. For this week, it is Japan's top anime box office hits in 2019. The top 10 highest grossing domestic films in Japan in 2019. Apparently, Weathering with You was number 1 on that list. But we also have From 10 to 1, we have Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. Kyoku ni gozaimasen? What is the English of that? Anyone know?
What is a Kyoku, Mason? I'm not sure of that. Without seeing the kanji, that's tough.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know that one.
Yeah, I don't know that one. I also don't know the next one, Tonde Saitama, either.
Well, Tonde could be Tobu, could be the progressive form of the fly. So,
interesting.
I don't know. Again, don't know. Got to see the kanji.
Number 7 was the Dragon Ball Super movie, Brawly movie.
Did you guys
6
see that?
was No, I haven't. I think you talked about it last year, though, didn't you?
Yeah,
I talked about it. I saw it.
I mean, I thought it was.
Unfortunately.
Oh, come now, Mason. Why am I not surprised?
I'm ready for all the flames.
We already had a big Discord discussion on this. We don't need to. We don't need to go through this.
Well,
again.
I mean, the movie didn't make any sense to me, and then they changed some of the lore from the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. You know, like I don't recall Goku ever going to Earth in his Saiyan armor. As you know, I'm pretty sure we all know he showed up like butt naked in a space pod that Grandpa Gohan found him in. But and yet he's like 8 years old before he flies to Earth and like saying goodbye to his parents from inside the space capsule, which is not the history that I know. But the action was pretty sweet. I mean, we didn't really watch Dragon Ball for the story, do we? Mason's
I don't know why anyone watches it.
Oh, come now. All right, keep going.
Anyway,
Mandi.
the Kiko ni
Number 6
gozaimasen
was
called Hit Me Anyone One More Time.
Hit Me Anyone?
What?
One
This
more
is from
time.
Britney Spears?
That's the official translation from IMDb. So, yeah, I guess so.
Interesting. Okay, so number 6 was Masquerade Hotel, another one I've never heard of. Then after that was the Doraemon, the movie. Then One Piece Stampede. Number 3 was Kingdom. Number 2 was the Detective Conan movie, The Fist of Blue Sapphire. And then number 1, of course, was Weathering with You, which earned 14.2 billion yen, which is about the equivalent of $129 million as of December 8th. So, yeah. I have not seen any of these.
Same
Yeah,
here.
you know, we actually had like a film category on the anime Oscars, and like nobody was voting, nobody was nominated. So I was
Yeah.
like, people just aren't watching these movies. I mean,
Yeah, I was saying it's hard for me, and I don't know if it's just my area. We hardly ever get anime movies in theaters here. It's so rare. Like, I was blown away that we got the live action Attack on Titan for one day. That was it. That's like all we've had over here. And we saw Free. We watched the Free movie in theaters. That was one day available. Is crazy. We hardly ever get anime movies over here.
I cheated. My my anime film nomination, had we kept the category, was a movie I haven't even seen yet, but I know it's good. Is the third
Promare?
installment? Of the new Lupin Fujiko movie. Just because everything that guy has been doing has looked phenomenal, so that would have been my nomination.
yeah. So I mean, this seems like fairly status quo to me, but I was a little surprised to see the One Piece movie in 4th place. I mean, Weathering with You is kind of obviously going to take the top spot, but like, and Detective Conan is a tough customer, but I always expect One Piece to be the top of the chart anytime that there's not like a Ghibli or a Shinkai movie. So, I don't know. Anybody else surprised by any of this? Doraemon is never going to go away. It's just eternal. So,
Were they supposed to be just anime movies?
No, these are all domestic
okay.
films.
Gotcha. Because I looked up Masquerade Hotel and I'm like, this isn't an anime. I'm so confused. Gotcha.
Neither
okay,
is
no.
the Hit Me Anyone One More Time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no wonder I've never heard of these.
tribute.
if you click on the link, there's another list of films that include other like foreign films, none of which surpass Weathering with You, but like Aladdin, for example, the Aladdin movie with Will Smith, I think it must be, would have been number 2 overall, and then like Toy Story 4, Lion King, and a bunch of others. Mostly like Disney movies, because Japan is just like they've gone good, like gaga for Disney. So yeah, pretty neat. It's pretty neat. I don't know. I'm happy to see that there's a lot of anime movies out there, but I don't know. I kind of thought Promade would be on there.
Yeah, I've heard
it's
really good things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not. So
When did that come out? Was that just last month, or was it?
It was a couple months ago, but you have to also think like Dragon Ball like is wildly successful, and that was number 7. So like a niche studio like Trigger doing their own thing, like it probably did well, but you know, I mean,
it doesn't have
Strikes Back.
Doraemon.
That's Pokemon, and that got number 10. So as much as I love Trigger and I want to think that they're a bigger thing, I could see them not making this list.
Right, it's not gonna outdo Doraemon or One Piece.
Exactly.
Of course, yeah, I get you.
All right, and that's about it for the news. Just another one of your like 29 recaps on 2019 recaps on films. So everybody's still doing well. Kingdom is really popular. I really want to pick that. I really want to watch that and pick it up.
I didn't know. It was crazy. That's always been like, this is the best manga of all time. That's what I've always heard. And then I did not know that it had an anime. I was like, what?
It did.
It's like old too. I'm gonna watch it as soon as I finish Gintama.
You only have a couple hundred episodes.
I'm only like halfway through, guys.
It's not that old though. Kingdom is not that old. It's within like 10 years, within like the last 10 years, and I think it's been running. Okay. I think it's been running all along. So I don't know. I think you're gonna have another big one to sink your teeth into because I don't have the exact episode count, but I'm sure it's long. So, all right, shall we move on?
Looking. Yeah.
Howdy, partner. I seen you riding in on that dusty trail. Welcome to the good, the bad, and the moe.
All right, guys. The good, the bad, and the moe. And for the good, Comiket and Dojinshi are just as popular as ever. Comiket 97 just was held in Tokyo this past week. It was from the like the last 3 days of December, more or less. And on the third day, they had 190,000 attendees on the third day, which just blows my mind every time. And on the first day and second day combined, they had almost 400,000, bringing the total for the 3-day weekend to 560,000 people, which is just putting it into perspective. I mean, it's just double probably what the next biggest anime convention of its kind would be in the world. So I don't know. That's just crazy. I've been to Comiket, and it's just the biggest fire hazard you've ever seen. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, it's just crazy.
I want to go.
It's really cool.
I almost went. Sorry, go ahead.
Man, you'd buy a ton of shit if you went to Comiket.
Probably.
Comiket 98 will be held during Golden Week on May 2nd to the 5th in 2020 instead of the usual August date because, and by the way, that's much better because it's so hot in August. It's brutal. Because the normal venue, Tokyo Big Sight, where they do it, it's out on Odaiba Island. It's a pretty cool venue. It will be the major center of activity during the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. So they're kind of they're supplanting Comiket to allow for the Olympics. But there's just lots of great and exciting stuff happening in Japan this next coming summer. If you can suffer the heat, it might be worth going, but Tokyo is really hot. It'll be in the 90s every day probably. For the bad, and people might wonder why this is going to be the bad, but I'll get to it. Studio Ghibli's New Year's message mentions a second new film in production, and this should be really exciting for everybody, especially me, because I'm the biggest Studio Ghibli supporter ever, probably. And but it was also said that the first of these films, which is Miyazaki's How Do You Live, or Kimi Tachi wa Do Ikiru Ka, was stated by Toshio Suzuki, the producer of Ghibli, in a magazine just earlier in the year, last year, said that Miyazaki was working on that film, but that there was no deadline and that he was a mere 15% complete of the film as of the end of October, and that he was only producing about 1 minute of animation per month. Now, keep in mind that this movie's been in the works for 3.5 years, and they're only 15% of the way finished with it. So at that rate, you're looking like another 8 years or something. And,
I can hear the red line, yellow line soundtrack play in my head as you read that. Like decades of production.
And I'm not going to let's not go overboard, but today is Miyazaki's 79th birthday. by the way, which is kind of interesting. And just
Happy birthday.
Yeah, he's just such a. I imagine he's just
A grump.
He's just putting his cigarettes out on people in a crowd or something.
And
I don't know.
in the birthday cake. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like he smokes a cherry brand cigarette, cuts a slice of cake, puts the cigarette out on top of the cake,
Hands it back to him.
and hands it to him. Then he smokes another cigarette. And sticks it out on top of another cake and gives it to his son. He's like, you know what? This one's just for you, my son. I smoked this cigarette a little bit less, so that if you wish, you can finish I will pass the torch on to you in the form of this cigarette.
He just smokes 79 cigarettes and puts them all out in the cake.
But the cake says anime was a mistake on it.
It does,
But of course.
And there's actually no cake on the inside at all. It's just plastic. So when you bite into it, it's just a big troll job. But I just don't think this movie's ever going to get made because, he's so old and I love the man, but it only takes one bad health turn when you're that age. And if he's really only doing a minute per month, let's just face it, it's probably not going to happen. The second work is really unknown still. They haven't really said much about it. We don't even know what form factor it's in, whether it's live action, traditional animation, a hybrid, who's making it. They didn't say anything. So that feels like it's even further off. I don't know, but I just don't know when these movies are going to get made. And that's why it's the bad, because abandon all hope, ye who wait. You're not going to get this movie. For the Moe, this is so crazy. Do-it-yourself funeral kits go on sale in Japan.
Do it yourself,
do it yourself
before you die.
Yeah, so Japan has a big problem because the birth rate is low and the population is old, and very old. And Tsubasa, a funeral services company based in Nagano Prefecture, has begun taking orders for its DIY funeral set, which includes a wooden coffin with a fold-open window, which will show you the face of the dead person, a pillow, a mattress, a blanket, an urn for the ashes, and a silver-accented box to hold the bones left over after the cremation, because they cremate in Japan, a handbook that explains how to perform the ceremony rites. And this can be yours at only 25,800 yen or $240, a major ridiculous savings over the professional services fee, which is roughly 2 million yen or $18,000 in Japan. But
I'm confused.
Me too.
Are they expecting people to cremate their loved ones themselves?
That's a fire I can get behind.
I'm confused.
Well.
What?
So I'm not an expert on funerals in Japan or anything, because it's just not, death scares the crap out of me anyway, and so I don't really try to think about it. But I think that they have a funeral, they have a coffin for the ceremony, and then the coffin and the person are ultimately burned together, and then they put your remains in the urn. So I don't know. It's just silly.
It's not really do it yourself then. Do it yourself would be standing in the box,
lighting it
up, and wearing the top of the box as a hat, so that when you brought it down, it had the shipping label and everything on it. So the people just walk by your door and just pick you up. That'd be economical.
It's just crazy.
So I'm going to assume. Gosh, I'm just so confused about this whole thing. So is it just a cheap urn and then a cheap wooden coffin, and you take that to the funeral home? I'm confused.
If you click on the link, there's at least a picture of the sort of a promo picture. You can at least look at it, but there's not really much. There's not really much. Yeah, there's not really much for you to look at.
That is an IKEA-ass coffin.
Yeah, I can try to get a picture of it here while we while we do the trivia, just for you guys. I will get a picture and put it in the on the Twitch so you can see it. So. But that's the good, the bad, and the moe. That is all.
Let's pull that up then. Yeah, like you mentioned, trivia. So the answer to the website trivia from last week was Fate Stay Night. And the winner for the week was Bill Nye the Russian Spy. God, I love that name so much.
Do you?
It's a good one, yeah.
The theme continues to be Christmas anime episodes. And while I say that, let me go to the website right now. You can do it right now with me if you are not driving. Let's take a look at this thing. Let's see how tough it is. Ooh, I think people can get that. I think you, dear listener, have the capability. So check it out on aaapodcast.com.
It's not super hard.
Exactly. You can win fabulous prizes as yet to be heard of. But we also have a different kind of trivia.
Yeah. Well, there's the DIY kit. I put it on the thing, and I also broke the Twitch. It looks like so.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm very good at Twitch, and I broke it. So.
Oh, awesome. Okay, yeah. So we have our intro trivia question, which we'll answer after the break, after you got a good look at that IKEA coffin. And the question is, Thors and Thorkel were part of what infamous and elite group of warriors? Which is different from what you're about to see on the screen, because that one apparently was just updated before I got it. But we will answer that question.
We'll answer both
after the break.
questions.
We'll answer both questions after the break.
Hey, all you anime addicts, Mitsuki is here, and I'm bringing you your anime news break, starting off with some Coachella news. We all know that Coachella is the big music and arts festival that happens every year, and this year they're having some Japanese talent at the event as well, including Hatsune Miku, who will be performing in the event on April 10th and April 17th. If you're a big fan of Hatsune Miku, you can check her out there. And very famous Japanese singer Keri Pamu is going to be performing on the 12th and the 19th. So if you're fans of these artists from Japan, you can head over to Coachella if you're able to get tickets and check them out at the Music and Arts Festival. Next up, there is a manga going back on hiatus. Welcome to the Ballroom was announced to be going on an indefinite hiatus, starting with the February issue of Monthly Shonen Magazine from Kodansha. They plan to have a new issue of the manga in the February issue, but due to Takeuchi's poor health, seems like he's having a lot of difficulty writing, and it's just not going to be happening. So Kodansha has revealed that the manga will return once his health has improved, but there is no date for that. Next up, there have been a lot of different voice actresses getting married this week, and it looks like this is true also of Haruka Yoshimura of the Idolmaster. And this is particularly interesting because she's getting married to another famous person, the Saitama Seibu Lions baseball team member Shogo Noda, which is one of the J-League baseball team stars. The pair has registered to have their marriage on January 1st, so that's pretty much already happened. There will be no ceremony, you won't be able to attend, but it looks like interesting little couple of two famous people coming together to get married. And next up, there are some new manga coming out in Shonen Jump in early 2020 from authors Yoshifumi Totsuka, Hajime Komoto, and Asahi Sakano that are all going to be launching new manga series in the magazine. Totsuka's Undead Luck Unluck series is a picturesque hero story that will center around an unlucky girl and will premiere in the magazine's 8th issue on January 20th. Komoto is going to launch a title called Mashal, which is in the magazine's 9th issue on the 27th of January, and Asahi will launch Majo no Moribito, or the Witch's Guardian, in the 10th issue on February 3rd. Asahi won an award in Shonen Jump's Treasure Rookie Manga Award in 2014 when he was only 19 years old. So pretty good names here, bringing out fresh manga for you to enjoy in Weekly Shonen Jump. This is Mitsuki, and this was your anime news break. And now, as always, as we do, time to get back to the podcast right now. Anime Addicts, the AAA podcast, is always trying to bring you new and exciting ways to enjoy our content, and now we have an exclusive member-only RSS feed on the site that is going to let you access our hentai episodes, our Hobby Addicts, and our After Parties episodes, all from your favorite mobile apps. That's an additional 8 episodes of content per month just for you, and you can listen to it through Apple Podcasts app, you can listen to it through Podcast Addicts, Pocket Cast, Overcast FM, Downcast FM, etc., onward and onward. So many mobile apps for you to choose from. If you were holding back on supporting the podcast because you didn't like listening to our extra content through our website, now you can get it and listen to it the same way you enjoy all your other podcasts. So pitch in, help out the podcast, do a good thing, and enjoy all the extra content we have for you. Just go to aaapodcast.com/join, support the podcast. Merry Christmas. And you will get all this extra content and an exclusive member RSS feed for you to enjoy. That's aaapodcast.com/join and support the podcast.
この番組は jlist.com の提供でお送りします。And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
For the first time ever, I've gotten like trick-or-treaters this year.
What kind of candy were you giving out, Mason?
We gave out M&Ms, we gave out Reese's, we gave out Whoppers.
Reese's.
We gave out
Whoppers.
Kit Kats.
So what are the kids going for though? Like when you hold the bucket out, what do they reach for first?
Kids don't even know. They got masks on half the time. They're like, they can't even see.
No, they can, man. Kids have like a radar. Sensing Reese cups.
I'm moving the bowl so they don't get the Reese's cups. I'm like, no, that one's for me later, man. You can't take it. Nope.
Yeah. You're like, you put them all at the bottom. You know what the dick move is? It's like you open the door, you assess how good the costume is, and then you reach for one of two bowls. If it's a good costume, it's like Reese cups and like, you know, the stuff people want. And if it's like, you know, if it's not, it's like
teenagers with no costume on, they get Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah, they give them Tootsie Rolls, give them black licorice.
No, if they give me like the proper like trick or treat and like thank you, I'll be like, oh wait, you can have another one. Like I'll give them extra. Except there was like these two kids, so they were like trick or treat, gave them the candy. They're like, thank you. I'm like, oh, you know what? You guys can have one more. And the older kid was like, oh, my mom would love these, and he picked like one, and the other one.
Oh, so cute.
The other one just like says, I ain't greedy, and just ran away.
That's hilarious.
That's great.
It was awesome.
Little kids.
And then I chased them. I'm like, you take the candy, and I was shoving it.
You're throwing it at them. You grab them, you stuff it.
To the ground.
You're stuffing it in their underpants.
I don't want this. I don't want this.
All right, guys, and we're back with the podcast, episode 505 of the podcast. And while we were on break, I went ahead and downloaded Blasphemous, which we talked about in the Hobby Addicts, because this is all Mason's fault. You know, first it was Darkest Dungeon, but now it's Blasphemous. But I don't think this will take nearly as long as Darkest Dungeon did. So, so the trivia for the Insta trivia question: Thors and Thorkel were part of what infamous and elite group of warriors? Mandi?
The answer is the Jomsvikings.
Jomsvikings! And I did have a question. I changed the question. I had a different one on there before, and I thought it was too hard. The question before was, I think I said, Thorkel is to Vinland Saga as blank is to Dynasty Warriors, because I kept thinking that Thorkel reminded me an awful lot of Lubu.
Lubu, yeah.
And because he just, no one can kill him. He's just like, he swings his axe and 12 people die like at once. It's just crazy. So, but yeah, I thought maybe that was too hard, so. Yeah, so that's the, and yeah, sorry, I forgot to put the trivia up on the news break.
Oh, it's okay.
So people that were like, I can't remember the question. Well, sorry. All right, well, it's time for Mandy's Manga Minute. Are you ready?
I am.
Let's do it.
And now, let's take a minute for the Manga Minute with Mandi.
This is the Mandy's Manga Minute, where I take a minute to tell you about a manga and help you find something new to read. And this one is called Somali and the Guardian of the Forest, and it is sponsored by Bookwalker. The human race has been hunted to near extinction, leaving the world ridden with all sorts of curious and mysterious creatures. In the middle of a forest, a lone golem comes across it, a disheveled human dressed in rags and bound by chains. Taking the child in, the golem comes to learn that the child is called Somali, and that she has no recollection of her parents. Spending time together, the two grow to share a bond akin to father and daughter. The golem decides to leave behind his obligation as the guardian of the forest in pursuit of Somali's parents, or, at the very least, any other remaining humans. So Somali, to her parents are the least of her worries. She believes she has already found the only parent that she needs. Somali and the Guardian of the Forest is a fantasy slice of life manga written and illustrated by Tako Gureishi. I believe that's how you say his last name. It is still currently publishing, with 6 volumes currently available digitally in English. I've only read the first volume of this manga series, but I can already tell that it is a story that's a very deeply fleshed out setting while also being very visually striking. This world is inhabited by non-human creatures, while humans have been hunted to near extinction, and what is left of humanity is hiding deep within forests. This golem has found a little human girl named Somali, is determined to find her family, or at the very least a safe place among her own kind. So he disguises her as this little demon so they can freely walk among the non-human races. And through their eyes we get to see the lives of both non-humans and humans. And this is not an action-packed manga. It's very slow paced, but each chapter fleshes out this interesting world that Somali is currently living in. And I would compare it to the earlier chapters of Ancient Magus Bride. If you're interested in a fantasy slice of life with a very detailed setting and warmer character interactions, then definitely give this one a shot. The anime is also currently airing with one episode out now on Crunchyroll, which I'll talk more about in just a second. But this is sponsored by Bookwalker. So if you use our promo code, if you go to global.bookwalker.jp and use the promo code AAPOD, you can get up to around $6 off your first purchase. So you can get this one. It's also currently on sale there. And I should also say this is our last week of doing this promo. I just realized that it ends in a couple of days.
Buy your manga!
Ends on January 7th. So if you're listening to this on Thursday, it might be too late. Hopefully you're listening to this live. Sorry. But January 7th is when this promotional period ends. And yeah, go over there, check that out. What I was going to say about Somali and the Guardian of the Forest is that we didn't know that it was in the winter season, because apparently the first 2 episodes aired in October. And so Mao put it on the fall list, so we completely missed it.
Oh, no.
We are aware of it, and we are aware of it. Mason has watched the first episode and said he's really digging it. I've heard good things, so we're looking at a way to squeeze it in. So
well, I'm sure
we'll talk about that later.
I'm sure there's always going to be room for one more impression. So
yeah, we'll probably get rid of something nonsense.
We just watched episode 1 last night with the group watch on the Discord, and I was like, within like a couple minutes of the show, I was like instantly charmed, and I was just smashing the keyboard. I'm like, Mandi, what is this? Why is this? How did nobody know what happened?
Well, I had no idea.
Just add it to your list. We can do it.
We'll figure it out. So it was a good time. I enjoyed it. Yeah. So I'm definitely gonna check out this manga too. So it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, guys, be sure to use that promo code before the 7th. So you can get your 600 yen off off of a manga over at Bookwalker. It's it just helps out everybody. Like you're getting a manga for crazy cheap. We look really good at the Bookwalker, and Bookwalker makes some money. So pretty much it's like triple symbiotic. So get over there and do
combo?
that. Yeah, just like that. So, all right, shall we keep moving?
Let's move right along.
In the game of waifus, you either win or you are late to anime school. Cake will be thrown, ice cold tea will be served. Who will be top in the class and who will be flunked in Mason's Waifu Wars?
It's worth following us on Twitch just to see Mitsugi do the dance and voices for that.
It must be horrifying to see her voice leave my mouth. I can only imagine. Okay.
Truly a nightmare of our modern age.
Sure.
But speaking of the modern age, it's 2020, people. It's time to have our eyes on the future. Eyes towards the sky. Actually beyond the sky, to space itself. The theme for January of Waifu Wars is going to be Space Babes.
Oh.
And this is week 1 of it. And you can't talk about space anime without bringing up Sunrise. This studio is responsible for some of the most important space series out there. You got Gundam, you got Cowboy Bebop, you got Outlaw Star, you got Armored Troopers Votoms. Like they're possibly the kings of the sci-fi space game. But the finest of all their works, in my mind, has to be 2003's Planet Test.
Wow!
God, such a good opening.
I love the theme song.
Uplifting. With the rumbling drums that started off so good.
Oh, it's really good.
possibly coincidentally, Planetes is done by the same mangaka as Vinland Saga. So take that what you
really?
will. So this is a 26 episode series that takes place in the year of 2075, where space travel is now an option for the common person. Anyone can do it, and things have advanced. There's colonization, there's commercialization of the entire world around us. So everyone's going off to space. It's what everyone does. And we follow the Toy Box, which is this dilapidated spaceship that is in charge of low Earth orbit and cleaning the debris that's within it. So this is a real life issue known as Kessler syndrome, where there's too much crud, there's too much stuff in the atmosphere that it makes navigating the atmosphere kind of impossible. So essentially, this, to put it bluntly, is just Trashmen in Space, the show. The crew of this ship is a charming melting pot of lovable oddballs, and they are helmed by their captain, Fee Carmichael, who is definitely the waifu of the show and this week. She's so fiery and outspoken. She's like the abrasive glue that keeps the interest and safety of her teammates close to her heart, even if she shows it in like super brash ways. She's not like the head of the entire section, but like she's the real like leader. She's one who actually makes everything happen and is crucial to the success of everyone around her. She's literally a waifu in mom jeans, but she still has like so much swagger, and she is not to be messed with. Like she's the kind of lady who will like upend an entire multinational terrorist threat when she gets irritated. So, to have her in your camp is definitely both a boon and someone to keep you on your toes. I just recommend checking out this entire manga, either anime or the manga itself. Both are excellent mediums, and I just love the show, and I love her, and I love space. That's all I got.
I love The Secret of the Moon. That anime has got some great music in it. And for those of you that don't know what Planetes is, and I've said this before, but the opening scene is like this family like enjoying their like space commute around the Earth or whatever. Like they left the Earth in a space shuttle to travel or whatever. We're just chilling. There's like a little kid playing with like some Legos or something. And there's like this little screw just kind of tumbling through space real quietly, just innocently. And it just goes and wham, like 10,000 miles an hour, this screw just plows into the side of this space shuttle and just kills everybody. And it's so epic. Like, and it's real. Like shit is moving real fast out there, and a little screw could wipe out a space shuttle, and it totally does. And Planetes is so freaking good. It is so good.
Yes, it is.
That's a good pick.
Thank you.
I do love Outlaw Star, though. Yeah, I don't know.
And with that, we can move on to our main topic, which is whatever the heck we want to talk about.
That's right.
Mitz,
bring your own topic.
Exactly. Would you like to start us off with the very topical topic?
Yeah, well, it's New Year's, right? And in Japan, they have Japan cares about Christmas a little bit. Like they don't really care. They don't really celebrate it the way that. I feel like Christmas is a holiday that's celebrated in a lot of different ways. Some people don't celebrate it at all, for starters, and then for some people, it's the Christmas tree and it's presents and it's stockings and for me, it's like I love Christmas cookies. I must have eaten 30 gingerbread cookies, fully iced, and it's an embarrassment. I still have some of the uncooked gingerbread dough shapes like frozen in my freezer because I know one day I'm gonna like want to cook them, and gingerbread is so good. And then some people go to church, and that's great. And then in Japan, it's like a day when people like go on dates, and it's not a big deal. It's just like, they go on dates and they'll have like a little tiny party at like their house where they eat like nabe or something. But the New Year's is huge in Japan. It is pretty much, I would say, the biggest holiday of the year in Japan. And they have just countless traditions. And I haven't experienced a lot of these, but I know of a lot of them. And mostly it's because it's from having a one-on-one conversation with people at Eikaiwa, which is like the Japanese conversation school, which if you went to work in Japan, you would most likely either work at a public school or in an Eikaiwa, where you would sit one-on-one and have conversations and grammar lessons with people at all skill levels. And of course, those are the most interesting when the person that you're speaking to is skillful enough in English that you can have a real conversation. And around New Year's, of course, everybody wants to talk about what they're doing. And so I kind of absorb a lot of little tidbits about tradition here and there. And the first one I want to talk about is this thing called Osechi Ryori. And it's a pretty big deal in Japan. And it's basically like a 3 to 4 layer, and if I can get a photo here, again, I'll put it in the Twitch, but it's difficult to do things and talk at the same time, but it's like a 3 to 4 layer bento, basically, that is chock full of some of the most decadent, elaborate, and colorful foods you've ever seen, and I never experienced it myself in Japan because it is so tremendously expensive that it was just cost prohibitive. I mean, it costs something like, it's upwards of beyond $200 for the box. And it's because the food is, well, it's one of those things where like it's a food that is only consumed during certain times of the year, so it's like a specialty item, and so they get you really good on the fact that it's like a specialty good. There we go. I got the image up there for you. And
it's more of like an art piece almost, right? Like a status symbol.
Well, I think if you look at the picture, it's pretty self-explanatory. I just put it up in Twitch, but there's all kinds of crazy food. There's like shrimps, there's tofu, everything is cut into beautiful shapes. It's very artistic, gorgeous, and everything. And this is a tradition that's been happening in Japan since before the year 800. So we're talking something that's been happening for, like 1,200 years now. Each food in the osechi box represents a particular wish that you might have for the new year. So there are some examples of, like, one of them is called konbu, which is a type of seaweed, and it's associated with the word yorokobu, which means joyful. There's ebi, which is like the cooked shrimp, which is cooked apparently with, I'm reading this off of Wikipedia, cooked with sake and soy sauce, symbolizes a wish for a long life, suggesting you would have a long beard and a bent waist, which is like, what like a stereotypical older person would look like. There's like the dai, Japanese bitter orange, which means from generation to generation, which when you write it with a different kanji, it symbolizes a wish for children. So like each of these food has like a different meaning. And a lot of these are foods that Westerners probably wouldn't be too interested in eating, because it's foods like black soybeans, red sea bream, fish eggs, sardines. But it's very like typical like food for a Japanese person. And
very colorful.
It's gorgeous. Like, it's unbelievable. You're like buying art. It's almost a shame you'd eat it. But you always hear like, oh, in Japan, the presentation of the food is so important. And like, this is just a great example of that. So osechi is really cool. If anybody ever is in Japan during the holidays, I don't know. It's not really worth buying, especially since it doesn't have the meaning for you. Because like, if you were at a Japanese family house, it would go on like a table, and like the whole family would eat it, like throughout the holiday. And I don't know, maybe if you're ever close enough with a Japanese family and invited to such an event, you'd be a really lucky person to experience it. And I think you got to order these things like months in advance. It's like Christmas cake. Like, they sell out everywhere, and you got to get like a huge reservation place. Then there's a couple more traditions here. I'm just going to talk about 2 more. There's the Fuku Bukuro, which means lucky bag. J-List has talked about this because they do some of this stuff as well. But department stores throughout the year, they acquire a lot of stuff that they're not able to sell. Like in the States, they'd sell that stuff to like Ross or TJ Maxx, and you'd go buy it like cheaper, right? But in Japan, oftentimes what happens is that they take all that stuff that they couldn't sell during the year, and they'll put it in a blind bag. So they'll put it in a bag, you don't know what's in it, and they'll put a price on the bag that's like 50% or more discounted off the normal price. So you could be buying something worth like $500 for, $100 or whatever. And the tradition is said to come from this proverb that says that it's nokori mono ni wa fuku ga aru, which is there is fortune in the leftovers. So people will just line up in like Shibuya department stores for hours and hours and hours on New Year's Day to get these blind bags. Like, they don't even know what's in them, and they'll spend hundreds of dollars on these bags. But like, you could get just crazy good stuff like necklaces or shoes or whatever. But it's like this lucky bag, this cool tradition that they do in Japan. Then is probably the most important thing, in my opinion, and I've actually done this, so I'll talk about that as well. But it's Hatsumode, and some of you probably know the word, but Hatsumode is the first visit to a shrine or temple during the first few days of January. So on New Year's, people all go, everybody goes to like a temple to pray for a fortunate new year. Like they all want to have like, everyone's praying for different stuff. Like kids are praying for their entrance exams. If you're in how heavy
are the dumbbells you lift? Yeah, I was about to say you pray for gains.
You're praying.
Father, forgive me for the gains I'm about to receive.
You're praying to be mad swole. You're praying to get into college. We've seen it in anime. Like it's not that uncommon, but it's a pretty cool thing. And at really popular temples like ones in Tokyo, that you'll have the food stalls that you'll see in Japan in anime that are selling all the normal foods that you've seen in different shows. They do the omikuji, which I think a lot of us that went on our last Japan trip did, which is where you get like you put like you shake a little thing and a stick comes out that has a number on it, and then you pull a little drawer of the number you received, and it has a fortune, and you can read it. And if it's a good fortune, you'll like fold it up and put it in your wallet. And if it's a bad fortune, you fold it up and you tie it to like a wall or something because you don't want that one. So you tie it, then you can go get another one.
Or if you're like me, you get average fortune and you're not sure what you do at that stage. You're like,
Yeah, you want to press your luck. So
exactly.
So it's pretty cool. And they also sell things like Lucky Charms for safety or wealth or good entrance exams and whatnot. And these are just some of the cool things you do at temples. Now, Hatsumode, I'm not Japanese, and the religious or spiritual tone of like the Hatsumode isn't quite as meaningful to me, just as I'm not that deep into the culture. But it was definitely an experience doing that. So I remember one year, this is like maybe 5 years ago, I was doing Hatsumode at the Meiji Temple in Tokyo, and it's probably the most crowded temple in Japan during New Year's, and I'm standing out there, I'm freezing to death, it's so cold, and with like I think I had like this really elaborate Starbucks coffee drink that I got. It had like, they always do like specialty drinks in Japan all throughout the year, and I think it was like some crazy peppermint drink or something. I'm sitting there with my peppermint drink, and the Meiji Temple, you'd have to look it up, but I would guess that something like 2 million people go through the Meiji Temple in one night. Wow. And it's just this ocean. Like if you've been to Japan and you know the Meiji Temple, then you know you have to walk quite a ways from the station to get to the temple. It's about a mile. I mean, it's pretty far, and it's a wide path. I mean, it's probably 100 feet wide at least. And I'm telling you, I am not even kidding. It for the whole mile, the entire width, you are basically so tightly packed that you can't even like lift your arms up. That's how many people are trying to get to the temple, and what you'll find is that you can't even really get to the temple during the New Year event because there's so many people that they basically have this tarp that's like this. It's just like, I don't even know how big it is. Like picture like a football field sized tarp, and people are just hurling money at it from like 150 feet away, and then they're doing their prayers from a distance because they don't want people to just trash the temple. So you really can't get that close to it, but it still counts as Hatsumode. So it's quite an experience, and even though it sounds terrifying to some people probably because of all the crowds, and it is cold, it is so worth it. I mean, it was one of my favorite memories from living in Japan, and 100% recommend it. And then straight from the Meiji Temple, because the food there was like so-so. They had some yakisoba, but that was about it. The Asakusa Temple in Japan is my favorite temple, and it's very special to me for a lot of different reasons. And there was one point where I had been there every year for like 7 straight years, and it is so neat because the street that leads up to the Asakusa Temple, when you go through the Kaminarimon, like the big gate that has the giant...
The Thunder Gate, that's the big red lantern-looking thing that you see in every anime ever.
Yeah. The street past that is covered with shops on either side, and those I don't remember if they were open or not that late at night. This is like 2 a.m. But as you get past that, you get to the actual temple, and that's where all the food stalls were, and there was a ton of food. I mean, it was okonomiyaki. They had yakisoba. They had takoyaki. They had hot dogs on sticks that were shaped in funny shapes. They had candied fruit, like the candied mekons, like the candied like tangerines are just unbelievable. Just the overall spectacle of being out there. And there's so much like electricity in the air and so much energy in that night that like even though it's the middle of the night, you just don't feel tired at all. And it's just such a neat thing. So if any of you have a chance to go to Japan during Hatsumode for New Year's, wow, it is such a cool time of year. And there's so much neat shit you can do in Japan during the New Year's. I just fully recommend anybody go to Japan during, like, spring is great because of the cherry blossoms, but I would say like during New Year's has got to be one of the other better times to go to Japan just because of all the cultural experiences. So that's just a little tidbit of like of little of what goes on in Japan during New Year's and some of my own personal experiences. So hopefully you guys get some cool takeaways from that.
I mean, technically anyone's first time to a Japanese temple is Hatsumode, but I
Sure.
agree with what you're saying where it's like it's all about going when everyone else is during New Year's. See,
Yeah.
I celebrated the Japanese New Year, aka the New Year, by we got mochi, which is a big sweet to have the day of, and we had that on New Year's Day. And I know they do like mochi pounding events at like the local like
Did you do
Japanese
that?
supermarket. I didn't do it,
And that's
but
how I
saw
broke
it
my
happening.
hand.
Oh shit! Have you seen those guys making
Ready,
mochi with the hammers?
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it.
It's so crazy. It's like this mochi's got blood in it. Weird.
We find out that Mason actually has a robot arm.
It's those extra red beans.
I could see Mason
Right.
being pretty good at that. Actually, he's probably pretty good at pounding some mochi.
Would I be the slapper guy who throws out like the flour like powder, or would I be the hammer boy?
Ooh.
You'd be the one that throws out the powder.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Slaps
There
it
it is.
each time. I can
So
do
it-
it. I can do
So
it.
it is said.
I'm
so
really
it
good
is.
at that like that knife game where you go put it between your fingers and like
Are
jump
you?
around. Yeah,
You
I
want
could
to show
probably
off
do
right
that.
now?
Yeah, right now. Let's do it. That's great audio. Just
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then a scream.
Just let me slap myself in the face a bunch of times. Like, I just
No, Mason would be like, see? Perfect. Then his hand's just covered in blood. That'd
just,
be Mason.
just looking like Thorkel over here. Just like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Missing a finger. Tiny spoiler. I'm so sorry.
Spoiler. I would have pointed out that spoiler was coming, but I didn't have the appendages to do so. Anyway, Mandi, what topics did you bring about?
yeah. Let's hear some more.
Oh, you don't want to go?
I mean, I can.
He's
Why
so
don't
so
you go
he-
first?
he's
Yours
so
is shorter.
he's so selfless. He's like, I'm just gonna surrender my time.
Well, these aren't as topical. So I just had two brief topics I wanted to touch on. The first was the new Made in Abyss movie that's coming out. Spoiler, there's a new Made in Abyss movie coming out soon. It was re-rated by like the film industry board, the same kind of corporation on that does like the PG-13 R ratings in the States. They have that in Japan. And the movie went from a PG-12 to a R15 plus, which essentially means originally it was categorized for the PG-12
Oh my God.
means like parents and guardians like can give permission for their children under 12 to watch it. Their R15 plus is essentially the same as the American R, which is no children under 15 is allowed to watch this.
How'd they
Wow.
let that slip?
Which tells me two things. One, they're going to go all in with this movie. This is going to be a dark piece of work, which I am excited for. But what was more interesting, which I have not seen before, was that they were offering refunds to anyone who had already like purchased tickets ahead of time, who now wouldn't be able to attend, which I've never really like heard or seen of before. I guess like you really don't pre-order tickets like months in advance for like American cinema. Perhaps you do, but like I've never heard of like a movie getting re-rated to a different group, and then it's like, oh well, you bought a ticket but you can't watch it anymore. Okay,
Didn't
bye.
that happen with Deadpool? Didn't that happen where a lot of people thought, oh, Deadpool is going to be kid friendly, and then they did refund a bunch of them because they were like, no, this movie is not for kids.
Yeah, but that movie was always an R rating. I think people just assumed it would be like a superhero one,
Yeah.
and then went to see it and was like, oh, this is not. Let me
This is not
cause
for
a
kids.
yeah, ruckus. I think this was like, because originally this was a PG-12 movie. It wasn't like they were intending it one way or another. It was just rated by the film board, and then they revised it. So I'm not sure of the logistics, but I thought that was an interesting piece of news.
R15
I can definitely see why they did that though, because there's some stuff in Being Abyss I would not want to show my very young child.
R15 is pretty intense, though. I mean, that's like, to me, that feels like somewhere between our R and our NC-17, because if you're with a 17-year-old and you're 15, you can see an R-rated movie. But if you're, I mean, R15
no one under 15
plus
can see it.
That's intense. I mean, wow.
So I think that also just makes me that much more excited for the movie. I'm excited for it to come out. The other topic I wanted to bring up, kind of piggybacking off our last episode where we looked at a bunch of shows that we know nothing about. We read a synopsis, we watched a PV, but we, at the end of the day, unless we've read a lot of the manga, we're just kind of guessing as to what shows, fit our aesthetics, fit what we are looking for. So I went back just to see how well of a job like PVs do at capturing material, and watched a bunch of PVs from the just finished season to see, knowing what I know now, do I think that those PVs did a good job of like capturing what was good, what was bad, the style of the anime, and see like, can we trust PVs when we're trying to
I'd love to know that answer.
make our picks. So I watched a bunch of them, and I kind of like grouped them into like 3 different sections, and a lot of these shows had like multiple PVs that came out. So the vision of fairness, I tried to just watch the first one, use that as the only what came out first, only what we would have gotten at the beginning to judge. And there was a group of PVs that were like very short and really just showed the style of something, but it didn't tell us anything about like what the show would be about. And like an example of that is No Guns Life or Outburst Dreamer Boys, which had really represented what the show looked like and showed what visual flair it would have, but gave no sense of pacing or tone or like anything. They were just visual pieces that kind of did nothing. Kabukicho Sherlock was similar, where it had a super like swinging soundtrack and a bunch of crazy visuals, which the show would go on to have. But if it wasn't for the name of having Sherlock and me knowing, oh, well, it's going to be a mystery show, the PV would have done nothing to introduce.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It looks sort of like, I would assumed it was like Dorarara.
Yeah, it was just, it was like, it was fun, it was engaging, and it's definitely captured that style of the show, but I would have been like, what am I going to see when I start watching this? The other set of shows, or PVs, I should say, represented their shows well, but not as extreme as the shows would end up being. For example, Azure Lane was just showing a bunch of the girls as battleships. I was like, oh, it's going to be that kind of show. But the show was so much more extreme in how many characters they had, and just being a, hey, here's the mobile game, but the characters, like, I don't know. It didn't go far enough, especially so with Kandagawa Jet Girls. Like, I rewatched that PV, and there was fan service all over the place. And I'm like, oh, well, those are a bunch of warning signs for me. But even that didn't reveal to me that it was going to be literal, like, nudity and hentai in it. Like, well, not hentai, but just it was like, it showed nothing but fan service, and even that didn't capture how much fan service the show had. Like, it was almost impressive how much they were able to censor it. Babylon looked pretty darn close to what the show would end up being. It's just a mystery, but with all mysteries, kind of like with Sherlock, you don't know if it's going to be a good mystery or not, or what kind of mystery it will be about. So it did a fair job. The ones I thought were the most interesting was Null Peta, which was a short that I reviewed or impressed on a while ago. And it was just a really cutesy opening, but it definitely did not showcase like the darker themes that the show would get into. Beastars, they had that one. And once again, like a PV, I usually expect a show to be putting their best foot forward visually.
They should be.
And the Beastars PV, I mean, we've talked about it before, doesn't look great. Looks very concerning, and even looking at it now, knowing that it's a scene from the show, it still looks bad, but the show looks phenomenal. So I don't know how they chose the worst part
So weird.
to show
Yeah.
because the show nonstop from the beginning. It doesn't like take time to get used to look good. It looks good from the start. So I don't know how. Maybe they touched up. Maybe they pulled the Sonic and saw everyone complaining about the PV and tweaked it slightly. But I don't know how they made it look so bad in the PV. That's my way of saying Beastars is good, people. Check it out. So I think the lesson I learned was PVs are not to be trusted most of the time. But a lot of them just kind of show you what, things will look like. But as far as quality or style of a show in the writing component, obviously it doesn't. Like I got no plot out of any of these. Obviously it's a commercial, but I don't know. That's kind of what my preliminary research shows. So we'll play this game again in a couple months and see how this season compares.
Don't judge an anime by its PV cover.
Exactly. Everyone just watch the episode of stuff.
Everybody read the manga.
We used to have we used to call it getting PV'd. Like, you'd watch the PV and you'd be like, this looks so awesome. And then you'd watch the anime and it'd be like, this is not what I signed up for at all. Totally misled. So.
I mean, I was glad that nothing felt like I was lied to. Nothing was like super bombastic, and it ended up being like nothing like the PV. Rifle is Beautiful was kind of close, but because that's kind of a aimless show about a bunch of stuff, it really didn't portray that. It just kind of focused on one of the things of nothing that it talked about. So
sure,
that's all I've got.
That's pretty fun. I like that you did that.
Yeah. I put down a bunch of topics. I don't know how many I'll get through. I'll probably skip over some of them. We'll see. A bunch of stuff that came up in my mind. I was like, I'm going to talk about this. But the first one that I thought was interesting is that the World End Economica got kickstarted as an anime adaptation. And for those who don't know what that is, it was a kinetic visual novel by the author Isuna Hasekura, who is the author behind Spice and Wolf. So the visual novel has really good scores on Steam, and as far as I know, it's only currently available on Steam in English, but the developers are working on a PlayStation port of it. I played it a while ago, and when I say kinetic visual novel, and this was I don't know, it's gonna be it's not for everybody. A kinetic visual novel means that you get no choices in it. It's pretty much just like playing a fully colored manga, basically, that has some music, and sometimes you get vocals in it, or like voice acting. This one does not have voice acting.
So playing it is a stretch of a word.
Exactly. It's not a game. It's like you're just reading clicking through a comic book, basically.
Gotcha.
But so this but a lot of people really love the story in World End Economica, and the story it's a sci-fi. It's based on a lot of the business kind of side, just like Spice and Wolf was. It's set on the moon, where humans have colonized the moon, and now, but the people who live on the moon, it's a very capitalist society, and so you need a lot of money to survive there. And the main character, Hal, is this boy who goes to live on the moon. He starts working in the trade market. I'm sorry, in trading stocks, sorry. And then he meets these other two women who are part of a church and starts living with them. And so he starts working through the trade stocks and to make money for both him and to help them out. And it's basically about their bond and just his business. And that one, it's the Kickstarter got 14 million yen. I don't know what the equivalent is. That I don't know if is that good for an anime?
That's what, 100,000?
It's like 100, so roughly.
What about the other anime Kickstarters? I don't know how much they typically make.
I don't think that's. Let's see here. There was. I had a source that said how much an episode of Cowboy Bebop cost, and that was 20 some years ago. and it was 20 million an episode. So,
but I was thinking like for a Kickstarter.
Oh, I'm not really sure, but 100 million, but 14 million yen wouldn't get you much of like an anime if that was all you had.
I mean, maybe it's one of those things where that is the stepping stone to say, oh, look, there's interest in this medium. Now we can bring this to producers and say, hey, we've raised this much. We've proved there's a market. Foot the rest of the bill, please. I'm not sure.
Well, I know that they are working on it. I don't know if it met its goal, but yeah. So I'm actually interested in this because, kinetic visual novels aren't really my thing. I prefer having some choice in my visual novels. So I think I prefer seeing it in an anime, and it's something that that is not very well known, but the people who do love this guy's work apparently love this story. So I don't know. I'm interested in. I don't know when that's going to come out.
You can just hold a mouse in your hand, watch the anime, and click a bunch and be like, it's the kinetic visual novel once again.
Yeah, except now you have voice acting. But and also The Way of the House Husbands manga got a live action promotional video, and I wanted to just briefly talk about that because it was great.
Let it be known.
Yeah, just to let it be known, guys, go watch it because it's so great. It's available on YouTube. If you just look up like Way of the House Husband live action, you'll find it. But they did a live action promotional video for the manga, and I'm so excited for more, guys. This is the one about the Yakuza boss who quits being a Yakuza boss and instead takes care of the house while his wife is at work, and he deals with everyday household chores in the way a Yakuza would. It's so great. I love it so much. It's about 5 minutes long, and the guy, it is live action, but they dubbed over the guy's voice with a professional voice actor who is Kenjiro Suda, who, if you're watching Blade of the Immortal right now, he's playing Mandi, and so his voice is perfect for that character. It's so good. But yeah, I loved it. You should go watch it because it's great.
Mandi, as a point of comparison, I see Rose in the chat suggested looking at the Little Witch Academia Kickstarter. And Little Witch Academia 2 had they got 67,400,000 yen for Little Witch 2.
Yeah. But, I mean, Little Witch was already pretty massive because of the OVA, right? Well, World End Economica, I doubt anyone even knows about it.
I more or less agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if that is impressive because no one knows about it. I don't know. But the last thing that I wanted to talk about, there was one that I was going to talk about, but I could probably talk about in like new releases sometimes. That one was just the manga art is getting an anime adaptation in spring. We can probably talk about that one later. The other one that I thought is really fascinating is that Yuki Kaji is playing a hotel concierge in a live action interactive movie, which is good because I just talked about the Bandersnatch on Hobby Addicts. But now Japan is making one, and it is by the creator of Danganronpa, which is very interesting. But the movie is called Death Come True. It's by Kazutaka Kodaka in his like new company, and he is the creator of Danganronpa. But there's also people in there who worked on the No Escape series. So this is very interesting to me because it's all live action, and I'm so curious how it's going to function. But the story takes place in a hotel, and the main character, Makoto Karaki, is a wanted serial killer. However, he has lost all his memories. Under such circumstances, when he dies, he has a mysterious ability to time leap and return to the past. As he's being chased as a criminal, who can he trust? Who should he be wary of? What is his true identity? The man searches to find the truth as he repeats decisions and death. And I think it's interesting that the actors in this are, from what I can tell, are voice actors. Like Yuki Kaji's in it. The main character is being played by Kanata Hongo, who has done voices in Danganronpa. And I don't know. I'm very interested. I like these like interactive movies now.
They're pretty neat.
It's something new. I think is really cool, and I love mysteries. Like I love the No Escape series so much.
You're gonna start getting walkthroughs from movies, like how to get the good ending.
Yeah.
And you
But,
like main characters who don't remember anything, like Disco Elysium.
I mean, yeah, I'm into the amnesia guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I'm into the
But-
people who don't even know themselves.
Exactly. And it's apparently coming out sometime this year. I don't know when. The company that the guy owns now is called Izanagi Games, and there is a trailer on YouTube. You can search for it. Just look for Death Come True. You can find it. There's not much in there, but you can see what I guess the actor looks like. There's not really any kind of hint in there how it's going to work. But yeah, I'm wondering if it's going to be similar to the Bandersnatch. And I'm hoping, I don't know, I hope we get an English subtitle version. I don't know. I think it's apparently coming out on the Switch this year.
What?
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't know how, if we will ever get something like that, if it's going to be exclusively Japan. That might be a lot for them to subtitle. I don't know. I'm curious, though.
We'll find out. Thanks for putting it on our radar.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to check it out.
This is a new thing that's happening. Interactive movies. It's a fun twist on interactive novels. So, okay.
Well, I think that was a lot of good topics.
Very topical.
Yeah, exactly. Just want to make a quick note about Mandy's thing that we'll talk about later. If you were like, what's this manga art she's talking about? It's the manga, it's called art, ARTE.
Oh, yeah.
You want to look it up. Just we blew by it and someone might be a little confused. So that's what you can look up if you're interested. But we'll talk about it later for sure.
Yeah, I thought it'd probably be good for new releases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with that, let's move into our second weekly trivia.
Yeah, so we have a question for you that we will answer after the break. The question is, which of the following Thor characters do not exist in Vinland Saga? Is it Thors, Thorbjorn, Thorkel, or Thorfinn?
Tricky.
Or Thorbardin.
Oh.
We will answer it after the break.
The answer to Thor Barden will not be counted.
Anime Addicts, this is Mitsugi, and I'm bringing you yet another anime news break, starting off with a very interesting news story as Netflix has added 32 additional episodes of the 1986 Saint Seiya anime with English dub and subtitles for those of you that are particularly enjoying the dubs these days. Netflix's, quote, fourth season of the anime is going to include episodes 42 through 73 of the series, and this will be available in North America. They began streaming the first 41 episodes of the anime back in October, so it's pretty exciting stuff that Netflix is continuing to take on both new and old titles of anime in dub format. Netflix also has now listed for the US audiences Dragon Quest Your Story, the Dragon Quest game franchise's first 3D CG anime film. So, if you are a big fan of those titles, check them out on Netflix as soon as you're able. Next up, another manga going on hiatus, perhaps just a short one. Dr. Stone, the manga, is taking a one-issue break due to the author Boichi's sudden illness. It looks like it will not be in an upcoming issue of Weekly Shonen Jump, but Boichi and Diichiro Inaka's Dr. Stone manga will plan to continue after the illness of Boichi is resumed. They didn't really specify what the illness was. The series is slated to resume in the 8th issue on January 20th, so you won't have to wait very long at all to get that. Next up, we have another news story here about Persona 5 getting a stage play, a new run in October of 2020. You have plenty of time to plan and make a trip to Japan if you're not in the country. Looks like it will receive a new run in Yokohama and Osaka in the fall of 2020. And the play will again star Hiroki Ino, Kohei Shiota, and others for the casting of the show. The first play, stage play of Persona 5 ran at Hotel Miel Parkview, Osaka from December 13th through the 15th, and then followed up in different locations in Tokyo. if you're a big fan of this title, which shipped for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3 in Japan back in 2016 and also North America in 2017, well, you can head over to Japan, what it will probably be a very lovely fall season, and check out the stage play in the fall in Osaka or Tokyo. And lastly, a new anime season has been announced. The Mahou Kakoko no Retose, aka also known as the regular Magic High School series, announced that they will be having its second season that will premiere in July of 2020. Aniplex also has a 15-second commercial that you can watch. Second season is being directed by Risako Yoshida, who worked on other titles related to the franchise at Studio 8-Bit. And returning staff includes illustrators, character designers, music composers, including Taku Iwasaki, who's done a lot of really fantastic work throughout his career, and lots of main cast members from the original season. So if you're a fan of the regular Magic High School, look forward to the summer 2020 season as a sequel is coming out with much of the same staff involved, so you'll be able to enjoy that pretty soon. This is Mitsuki, and this was your anime news break. Now, getting back to the podcast right now. Anime Addicts, winter is back, and that means Japan is no longer hot, so the chocolates are safe. And JList.com knows this, and they're offering lots of new chocolate treats for your enjoyment straight from Japan. You can head over to JList.com or JBox.com, their non-adult mirror site, and experience some of the most incredible chocolate snacks straight from Japan. They have dozens and dozens of Kit Kat flavors, including the legendary green tea Kit Kat, which is probably my favorite. The Melty Kiss delectable chocolates, which come in lots of different flavors. Pocky flavors that you'll only find in Japan, and so much more. All these products are around $3 or less, so you can get quite a lot of yummy chocolate snacks straight from Japan for a very, very small amount of money. Head over to JList.com or, again, the JBox.com, the non-adult mirror site, and get your chocolate and Japanese snack fix.
Hey, Steve Bloom here, voice of Spike Spiegel, Vincent Valentine, Leron from Gurren Lagann, Guillerman from Digimon, and a bunch of other crap. And I am a total anime addict, dude. Tune in, or else.
You know me? Of course!
Welcome back to the podcast. All right, guys. Which of the following Thors is not a character in Vinland Saga? Is it Thors, Thorbin, Thorkel, or Thorfinn? I think
I don't know about this one.
I think I did a pretty good job of picking a fake Thor name that sounded plausible, right?
You know, for people who are listening to this, in the on Twitch, when we do the news breaks, we have a screen that pops up that just reads the question back, so you can look at it while you wait. And I don't know where it's from, if it's the Reddit or Twitter B, but I wanted the B in Thorbin to be that, like, the thick B.
The thick B?
What's the Reddit B? You know, that they put in all the memes. I wanted that one to be there.
Anyway, the answer is Thorbin. Thorbin is fake. Thors is Thorfinn's father, and Thorkel is Mandi's husbandal. So
Very accurate.
So I thought so too.
Thorkel is my religion, guys.
Wow, the religion of Thorkel.
Yeah.
So, guys, one more quick reminder about our exclusive RSS feed that you can now get on our website. When you become a member on our website and help us out and support the podcast, we of course love you very much if you do so. You can now get an exclusive RSS feed that will let you access our hentai episodes, our hobby addicts, and our after parties, which is probably I would say roughly 7 hours of extra content a month. all via your favorite app that you listen to on your that you use on your phone. Listen to podcasts. It'll work on the Podcast Addicts, Pocket Cast, Apple Podcast app, Castbox, Overcast FM, all that stuff. There's a member RSS button on the top of our website. You more or less just copy paste the link into your app and it'll work. So all of that, when you sign up, now you can listen to all of our extra content easier than ever. So thanks again for helping out the show. So are you guys ready for the 5-star review?
Sure am.
Yeah.
All right, let's hop right to it.
It's time for iTunes review.
This comes from Grass maybe? It's spelled Grass, NDJRKJD.
Okay, now I see where you're struggling.
Najurkdid. And you can be like,
yeah.
you can be like Mr. Grass and leave your own 5-star review. No other review is allowed on iTunes, and we will read it on the podcast. And they write, best anime podcast. Love all of them. They feel like a family, which makes things cozy. Short and sweet. I like it. Thank you very much.
Guys, we're not out of 5-star reviews, but we are somewhat low on them. So if you haven't gone to iTunes yet and submitted a review, please help us keep this like 4-year streak of never not having a 5-star review to read alive on the podcast. Head over to iTunes and write us a quick 5-star review to help us keep the streak alive. So would appreciate that very much.
You don't even need to come up with a clever username. Just be like Mr. Grass, pound on the keyboard.
Yeah, just smash the keyboard.
I'm
angry.
We appreciate it immensely.
We do, and we love you forever.
Guys, is it game time?
Oh boy.
Hey guys.
I feel like I need some epic music.
We gonna talk about Vikings?
No. It's gonna be like very much a sit down. It's like Mandi here, and we're talking about Vinland Saga today.
Guys, yeah, I have a lot to talk about. I'm so excited. So, Vinland Saga, as everyone probably knows already, this is my favorite manga series. I absolutely love Vinland Saga a lot, so I was very excited to talk about this. And it was adapted by Wit Studio and directed by Shuhei Yabuta, who's also the director for Inuyashiki. But let me tell you something about Vinland Saga here. It is a manga by Makoto Yukimura, who Mason mentioned earlier. He's also the mangaka behind Planetes. And it's based very loosely on a few different Icelandic texts from the 13th century. The Saga of Greenlanders, the Saga of Eric the Red, and a bit of the Knut Linga saga, which is about Canute. And so most of the characters that you will see in the series are real people who actually existed, although most of them, there are some that were created just for the anime, but although where they existed in real life or in slightly different times. I'll talk about that more in spoiler section, because I know this is history, but anything that I talk about is going to spoil shit. But basically, it is following the entire life of Thorfinn from childhood to adulthood. And Thorfinn is this boy who was born to this great warrior named Thors. And through events, he gets roped into the invasion of England, the Viking invasion of England. And he is also knows about this to them a magical world known as Vinland, where there is no war and there is no slavery. So it's also about his adventures trying to get to this world, to this other place of existence. And it is a very long saga. Fair warning. And you can tell that right at the end of the series when it says end of prologues.
Yeah, end of
it's
prologue.
A very long series. Yes. So yeah, that's basically Vinland Saga in a very tiny nutshell, and I'm going to go very deep into it later on. So But first of all, do we want to talk about what our expectations were going into it?
I expected it to be pretty epic. I mean, we had heard a fair amount from Mandi already. I watched a little bit of it before I binged it this week. Very bingeable show, by the way, I will say. I mean, based on what I saw, I thought we were going to get tons of just killing people and an epic adventure, and I figured it was going to be pretty damn good. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
So I had read a couple volumes of the manga many years back because it's often brought up as like a follow-up to the Berserk manga when you need the next thing to read. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big fan of Planet Tests, so this was always on my radar, especially with Mandi being a constant reminder with her enthusiasm for it. So I was always looking forward.
I've got books here.
Books for days. I was always
So
looking forward to what Wit Studio could do with the property because Wit has been on fire lately. And so I had pretty optimistic, aspirations for what this would be when I started it.
Yeah, I mean, I already knew what I was expecting going in because Vinland Saga is my favorite manga. But going into the manga, I will say that I always had this very strange fascination with Vikings. And I originally found Vinland Saga because I was specifically looking for an anime/manga based on Vikings. And I looked it up and it's like, this is the only one that existed. And this was like, I don't know, 5 years ago. But I don't know, there's always just something so mysterious around Vikings and who they really were. Because a lot of the tales that we have of those days contain a lot of fantasy. And the characters are very larger than life and who could perform these godly feats. And to this day, historians are like trying to piece together, pick out what was real and what was fantasy, because we do have evidence that there were historical events in these tales. But yeah, they always had a lot of embellishments on there. So I was very fat. As soon as I learned of Vinland Saga, I was like, I have to have this. So I start reading it, and I couldn't get enough of it. So going into the anime, though, I was very worried. 5 years ago, I never thought it was going to exist ever because I thought it was going to be impossible to adapt. I didn't think people really had an interest in Viking tales, except for crazy people like me. And the manga deals with a lot of different languages. And it's easy to do in manga because you can show those with different types of fonts. And I mean, there's no way they're going to find all these different, like, people who can speak these languages in anime. Or like, you got to deal with like Old Norse, Old English, and sometimes French. And I was like, they'll never find, I don't know how they're going to do this. It's going to be awkward. So I was very worried going into it. But that'll lead us into what were your spoiler-free recommendations?
Pretty easy to recommend Vinland Saga to everybody except people who can't handle violence. It is very violent. It's like Berserk level violence for the most part. Yeah, there's not a lot of gore in it. Like there's no entrails spilling out. Like I feel like the days of spilling entrails is like reserved for the 80s and like early 90s. It's not that grotesque, but man. Oh my God! So many people die. I mean, there must be. I mean, you can't count them. I mean, they probably killed 10,000 people, and they show every one of them being killed, at least. And there's so much blood. I mean, it's just insane. And not only is there a lot of blood, but there's a lot of blood like against snow. Like, there's a lot of this takes place in the snow, and there is just like you just see a field of a giant snowfield of just dead people with like just tons of blood everywhere. So if you can't handle violence, I mean, you're pretty much not going to be able to watch it. Otherwise, yeah, like it was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, one of the easiest, I usually really struggle with the 24 episode or 26 episode like week binge because I find myself filling every spare minute of the week with it because it's about how much time I've got. And this one was easy. Like it was real easy. Like, I did like 4 episodes a night. It was just like real easy. Yeah, super easy to recommend.
I would definitely recommend the series to people. I watched it with my family over the holiday break, and it was an enjoyable
So
time. It's it's got history for people who like that, but not so much so that it bogs it down. And it's kind of like Mandy said, that legendary, fantastical history where it kind of goes into these embellished tales to kind of build these grand characters, which goes to the next point, which is it's got violence, it's got tactics, but that doesn't ever overshadow like the characterization that it builds up. It's got themes of religion, it's got greed, family, loyalty. And even though it's not a complete work, like the story is not over, I thought it ended at a very satisfying place where I'm not like, oh, you're going to be just left off on a huge cliffhanger and wanting more. And you're like, oh, I should have just waited till the next season comes out. Like, no, it ends at a pretty good place. But despite all that, I recommend the manga more than this. And I feel like we're going to talk about that a bunch. But this is such a good introduction into like the medium of anime for new fans. But this is an even better introduction into the medium of manga for those who are like, ooh, I've been trying to pick it up. I don't know where to start. Like, I've just always been an anime person. I've never wanted to dip my toe into the manga pool. Now's your chance. Now's a great way to get into that. And so, yeah, watch the anime and read the manga. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I also, I mean, maybe I'm just coming at it from a very biased view, but I do recommend the manga more so. But that doesn't mean I think this is bad. I thought they did a really good job of adapting it, other than like a few like maybe weird CG moments here and there. And it does start at a very different point than it does in the manga, and I think I had preferred how the manga started because it gets you right into the action. I can also kind of see why they chose to do it this way, which I'll talk about later on, because the manga did originally start as a shonen manga, a weekly shonen manga, which was very wild, but and that went on for 28 chapters until Makoto finally said, I can't deal with this weekly rush. I want a different tone for my manga, and switched it over to seinen, a monthly seinen manga, so he had more freedom. And it's very obvious where that happens if you read this. And I think they tried to maybe introduce some of the more violent parts at the very beginning to kind of ease you into that transition. And I also think they had to pad it out because they had a very set number of chapters, and they had to end at this very specific point because from this specific point on, it's a time jump. So maybe that's also why there's some anime scenes only in this. But yeah, I highly recommend checking it out. If you just really cannot read manga, definitely check out the anime, because I did still really love and enjoy it. So yeah. And now I guess we will jump into spoiler section.
And more than most other reviews, this is going to be spoilers.
Yes. Highly. That's why I can't even talk about history, because
so
don't read Wikipedia articles, guys.
So some shows I'm like, it's spoilers, but you can. A lot of the big moments in this show we will be discussing. So please, I encourage you to go give the show a chance if you haven't yet, and then we'll forgive you coming back to us later after you leave the 5-star review. Okay.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
Hey guys, Vinland Saga.
Ooh. I kind of want to begin at the beginning, if that's all right with you. But this is your ship to lead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you mind if I just give kind of like a very little introduction to where we are in the point of history? Because as I was saying before, I couldn't really talk about it, but these are different sagas that are happening, and each of them are happening in, like, from what we know of history, happen at slightly different times. Because now that we are in spoiler section, if you are still here and do not want to be spoiled, you better leave right now, because I'm about to spoil everything. But in history, King Canute became the king of England in about 1016 AD, and during this time, Thorfinn was already on his journey to Vinland in about 1010 AD. So, as I was saying before spoilers, because I didn't want to drop that on everybody, but these sagas are have all existed, but Makoto blended them together because he just wanted to get all of them in at the exact same time, so all these characters could interact with each other. So, as far to my knowledge, Thorfinn wasn't in Knut's saga, so that's kind of like where he blended them together. But the manga and anime start at a very specific point in history, which is 987 AD. To give you a little bit idea of what's going into this, it's towards the end of the Viking period, and what you can expect from this anime, and whether or not it did a good job of portraying this time. Historically, at this point in time, when we meet very young Thors, Sven Forkbeard was the king of Denmark, and in 986, and Sven's father Harold Bluetooth was starting to introduce Christianity to Denmark and was the first Scandinavian king to be baptized. And Sven revolted against his father and pushed him into exile, and eventually took the throne. Around that time, Sven started to persecute Christians, and then he went on to become the king of Norway and eventually England in 1013, and he adopted Christianity again, but people think it was more of a political move. So if you're wondering why the anime has all this kind of stuff, information in it, this is why. It's like this. That's what was going on during this time in history. And yes, Sven was the father of Canute, and Canute did eventually take the throne. But yeah, where do you guys want to start?
Good Lord.
I mean, I guess I just wanted to bring up, like, so I watched the first 3 episodes of this when they dropped as one like set back with the Discord, because it came out like 3 episodes at once, and honestly I was super underwhelmed. Like, I don't blame the anime for this, as they, like you said, they chose to tell the story chronologically rather than jumping right into the present day most interesting part as the manga does. So I was like, Vinland Saga, I don't know, I'm not really feeling it. And I'm definitely glad I went back and touched base on it again, but I remember not coming away with the best first impression with this show.
I think we watched it together, and I was like, yeah, I'm digging it.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know, Mandy, maybe it's not going to be that great. Like, I've read the manga, like, I know it gets good, but I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it when we started, but I'm a little bit different by now. I guess first thing is I want to talk about the art, though.
Oh my gosh, the backgrounds.
So you want to just jump straight into the art?
I mean, or do you want to do the plot stuff first?
Let's do plot stuff first.
Okay.
That's usually how we order things.
Fair enough. Fair enough. There's no rules. There's one rule. Okay. So, like I guess I mentioned, after the first 3 episodes, I wasn't a huge fan of it. But kind of from episode 4 through episode 12, I thought was by far my favorite part of the season. The growing up of Thorfinn, his integration into the tribe with Askeladd, and kind of their adventures as going around the seas in England, all that stuff I thought was by far my favorite part. And kind of up into the first confrontation with Oracle was peak Vinland Saga for me, and was by far what I wanted the series to be for the whole time. I think when they, first kind of got to Wales and then started to trek across England, it just slowed in quality. Not slowed in quality, but just like the characters in the snow itself, I felt like it slowed a bunch then. And I think that's what you mentioned was a lot of the anime original scenes where they kind of padded out for time to get to the ending that they did. That was the part of the show that I was the least engaged with. Thoughts?
Well, the anime only scenes were Thorfinn as a young boy with Askeladd, because a lot of that is skipped in the manga. In the manga, it begins that one scene where they are raiding that and there's that English I can't remember who it is, the toad looking guy.
Yeah, the guy who looks like straight out of Spirited Away, who is like, I'm sending my guys towards the front line and we can't do anything to get up this waterfall. And
yes, where he is already in battle. And then Escalad's team come up and we're like, hey, we'll get in there for you. And they carry their boats across land and raid them and then steal away the treasures. That was the beginning of the manga. And then we get like, in the manga, we get that kind of like mystery of like, Thorfinn obviously hates this guy. What happened to them? And then after they steal away the treasures, it goes back in time to Thor's and we learn, this is why Thorfinn had this grudge against him. This is what happened. So I don't know. I think I kind of like the mystery part of it in the manga more so than the anime.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. But I don't grudge them for doing it in chronological order. It makes it a lot easier to follow, especially for, people. I guess one thing I just really dislike in general is when a character is visually designed to be like that Toad guy that you mentioned, who's just obviously a bad person and that physically manifests themselves in like this over-the-top, very grumpy way.
Very Shonen Days of Vinland Saga.
It is. And like,
changes a lot.
The over-the-top like physical abilities of people and the fights and stuff, but to have like the design of this guy to be so like not in universe was just like, we get it. He's a dumpy, goofy dude. But
I don't know. Never really. I mean, I remember who you're talking about, but he never really. I don't think the thought that he's out of universe really ever crossed my mind. I mean, I'm just
almost better animated than a bunch of the other characters, though. Like the amount of detail they put into like all his teeth and his tongue and stuff is like way more than they gave to like some of the other guys. It's kind of odd.
Listen, half the time I'm watching anime, I'm just happy when the designs have some variability between characters. Like I don't like it when the designs are so simple that it's almost like they don't spend any time on them at all. There are anime where people just like have different hair color, and you could like, and that's about it. So like. This anime at least has a lot of characters, and they all look very different. Like their heads are like. There's the one guy looks like Duke Nukem. I mean, I was laughing my ass off all the damn time. Mandi holds up the manga with the guy's mouth.
Yeah, this fork guy or frog guy.
The frog boy.
What's the guy's name who looks like Duke Nukem? Is it Floki?
Yeah, Floki.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like everybody looked a little different, and I mean that enough for me. It was like that's what I want usually. That's like how I feel when I watch Monster. Like everybody looks different. Everyone looks very interesting, and I appreciate the effort that goes into creating unique designs. So I don't know. It didn't bother me.
Yeah, I guess one thing that I absolutely love about Vinland Saga are the characters for me, because man, let me tell you, some of the character arcs in Vinland Saga are pretty insane. There are some characters who go from one side of the spectrum and progress all the way to the other side of the spectrum.
And I think that goes along with the plot believability of do we want to start with Canute or start with your favorite character and work our way down to least favorite?
A Thorkel?
Yeah. Who has no character development because he doesn't need to develop because he's perfect.
No, of course not. He's a fucking god. How can you get any better than that?
But even then, he has like a reserve side that he shows at the end of the season where he's like, I'm a dumb, goofy boy who eats meat all day and fights all day, but I know when to like serve that support role and like provide guidance.
He's like the Viking Hisoka.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to fight really tough people. I love it so much.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised by Thorkel, by his quick. He goes from being like this, I don't even know what to call him. He's like he's like psychotic for half the show. He just wants to kill everything, and he goes from that to like being very subservient very quickly, which I kind of thought was, I mean, he may have like a motivation that is deeper that kind of backs that up, but that was a little quick for me. Canute, I get that like he loses somebody important to him, and that is going to have an impact on a person. Canute though, he goes from being like unable to even talk to like ordering like groups of people around and like in the snap of a finger.
Canute snap, yo.
Yeah,
that's the one character growth that is, I think, could throw people off with how almost sudden it is. Not to say it's not believable or it doesn't, make sense for what he went through, but it is a little sudden.
Yeah. Yeah, so many of the characters in the show are really good. I don't feel like Askeladd's character changed tremendously, but the way I feel about him changed as the show went
right?
on. Yeah, he
That's what I told you before. I was like, give him some time.
I mean, he went from being a son of a bitch to he's still kind of a son of a bitch, but I really liked him.
He went from being a son of a bitch to being our son of a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked him, and he had a pretty fantastic moment at the end of the show. I mean, and he's very smart and quick-witted. Like to the actions. I don't even know if I need to say what he did. It's just like an unnecessary spoiler. But at the end of the show, he does something that's a very quick judgment call that turns out to be a very smart decision that kind of helps him accomplish everything he wants to accomplish, but at a cost. And in that moment, it's like you'll find out how you care about how much you like or dislike Askeladd, because you really have no choice. And he has like a very defining, powerful character moment at the end of the anime, at the end of the season, and it was really nice.
I love Askeladd. As I was saying before, Askeladd is one of those characters that isn't based on a historical figure, to my knowledge, at least. I think he's based off of an old Norwegian folktale about Askeladden, or aka Ashlad, and that was a tale of this young boy who always succeeds in places where others would fail, and it's often compared to stories of the Norse god Loki, which seems to perfectly fit with Askeladd, as we know in Vinland Saga. But to my knowledge, he's not a historical figure. But despite that, he is one of my favorite characters in this series, because he's also one of my favorite anti-heroes. Because when we first meet Askeladd, we're not really sure of his goals, and I definitely agree. Like, we instantly want to hate him because he kills Thor's, this character that we're instantly attached to. He's so badass. And he also has like this seemingly disregard for any kind of notion of what's right and wrong. But we learn more of his backstory, his motivations. You find out that his goals are quite different than what we imagined, and he has this. I guess it's okay to spoil it, but he has this grand vision to end the Viking Age. I think that's why Makoto chose to do this towards the end of the Viking Age, because there are two different goals that we see throughout the entirety of Vinland Saga. Two different types of people who want to end the Vikings, one through peace, one through violence. And Askeladd wants to bring a bloody hammer of justice down upon them due to how they, due to his mother's history. And that's something you're going to see throughout the entirety of Vinland Saga. But gosh, yeah, he's so intelligent. And yeah, I don't know. I love Askeladd so much. It's so hard to hate him, and as soon as we learn more, I'm like, God, I just want to root for him.
I mean, Askeladd is by far my favorite character of this series. I love the dichotomy between, for almost 15 episodes worth, he's just the leader of the gang who fights and pillages and does mayhem, and he's like the quintessential I don't care about anything Viking leader. And to have that switch of thing where all of this mayhem, all of this chaos was all a controlled ambition marching towards something greater. And to know that almost everyone following him was just under the umbrella of, we're Vikings and we're going to mess stuff up. And he was channeling all of that Danish fury into his spearheaded pointed goals. And to have that come from this one character, which we always knew was smart. He was always with it. What was it, episode 3 or 2, when he sniffs out the spy who gets impaled by the spear, in the meeting with Floki. He's always so sharp, but we just, knowing that, we still don't give him the credit that he has, and to have that all build up was amazing. I love his statement that kids are annoying, because boy, Thorfinn is so screechy and dumb in the series. And I think the key
So
to
far.
the key to success for the inevitable season 2 is how they handle his growth moving on. Because at the end of the day, he is still the main character, despite what this first season will have you believe. And kind of his impact of, what he leaves on for Thorfinn to achieve is the key to, how it will go from here. And that's what I'm extremely interested in. But
Let me tell you guys, adult Thorfinn.
Speaking of Thorfinn, can we talk about him for a minute?
Yeah.
Boy, life just shits all over poor Thorfinn.
Yeah.
From start to finish, I mean, he watches his father die, and it just consumes him completely. And I this may be controversial, I don't know, but I don't like Thorfinn very much. I thought his character was very one-dimensional. He just
it's fine.
he's
a lot of people have that impression of him.
I mean, he's like this. He cries a lot. He screams a lot. He gets his ass kicked a lot. But his whole character is based on one thing, and that's killing Askeladd. Everything he does, every action, every emotional outburst, it's all about killing Askeladd. And then at the end, it all gets taken away from him. And he really should have just gone with Leif Erikson. And can we just say that Leif is the best boy? I just want to hug him. I just want to hug him.
It's hard to compete with Thorkel, but
I mean, I just want to. But Leif is he's just. This whole show is just full of assholes. Like, they all just kill each other. They don't give a fuck. I'm going to kill you and drink your blood. I'm going to rape your women. Like, that's what these people are. Like, Askeladd, Thorkel, they're all just mass murderers. There's like some good motivations and maybe even some good intentions at times. But like Leif, this is my plug for him. He's just a good guy. I just wanted to give him a big hug.
he is a good guy, yeah.
And Thorfinn, he just gets his whole world taken away from him. And I'm sure lots of stuff's going to happen with Thorfinn later. But, boy, life just shits all over him. And he was just... I feel like his defining character image is, like, towards the end. He's just, like, laying face down in the mud. Like, poor Thorfinn. Like, that's just, like, what he is. His face is just in the mud. And he's just a sad boy.
Yeah, I agree. During this part of the manga, I was like, this Thorfinn is sort of the main character, but he doesn't really get any growth. Going forward, he gets a shit ton, so I promise.
Yeah.
Selling point
It
number
changes.
2 for the manga, you can't hear him screaming constantly in it.
That's true.
So you got that going for it.
I think Thorfinn's life sucks about as much as like Yoko's does in the book of 12 Kingdoms, because I feel like she's getting like eaten by animals and starving to death for like 200 pages of that book. But much like Yoko, I'm sure Thorfinn will end up rising up and becoming awesome. But boy, life sucks for poor Thorfinn. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Worst part about Thorfinn, unironically, was the Naruto run in episode 7. That like dropped the score of the show by like 5 points. That was
What?
That was pretty egregious.
There's
That
a really
killed me. I loved it.
There's a really
Caroline-
funny meme.
Yeah.
Caroline put that up on social media. I thot it was great.
We're like Askeladd's looking at him and he's like weeb or something.
Fucking weeb.
Yeah.
Fucking weeb. Let me see if I can
I
find
thought
that
that was
real quick.
great. Me and my brother might have let out an audible groan when that happened. But it's fine. It's fine. It was very funny. I like Ragnar a lot. I thought he was a great character.
He was
A companion to Canute. I love the two brothers in Askeladd's tribe who just kind of have their little mini arc and eat a ton of food and pose together, the JoJo brothers.
Oh yeah.
There was a ton of just lovable side characters. All the people back in Iceland who stayed put, like those 3 kids who were just so hyped to fight. Just there was all the side characters I was really engaged with to a small degree, even if they did die in droves.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about Vinland Saga is that there's all of the characters are so gray. None of them are so evil. You're like, this character is obviously very evil, and they're not so good. They're like, this character is very benevolent. Everyone's so in that gray area. Like they all do good and bad things.
I don't know.
Oh.
It's mostly bad things, and who does the most bad things. That's kind of how it is.
Thor's is a bad negotiator. That's for sure. He trades how many
Yes.
pigs for that, or how many sheep for that slave?
Like 5, 7 of them, and all like the best ones.
His family's like, "Are you nuts?" They're like, "What are you doing? We can't live through the winter." And then the slave just dies like right afterwards.
But I love that scene where Thor's tells Thorfinn that you don't have any enemies. Like he's trying so hard to get his to try and teach Thorfinn that he doesn't believe in slavery, and he wants to live in a very peaceful world, and trying to instill that into his son. It's so sad to see how Thorfinn falls so easily into that role of I just want bloody violence against those have done me wrong.
Thorfinn is a literal meme lord when his dad's like, "You have no reason to hold a sword up to anyone." He's like, "Well, fine, I'll hold up daggers. It's not a sword." It's like, "Oh, okay, that's how you're gonna play it." But no, Thor's I thought was a great character.
Yeah.
And,
For the time that we have with him.
Yes.
Really sad scene was when, what they tell the mother and the daughter that Thor's is dead, and then like the daughter kind of acts like she doesn't care for a while, and she's like working really hard, and then the minute that the mother, I think it's the mother, tells her to like go to bed, like why you can't even see, why are you making this rug right now? Like the minute she stops, she starts crying about it, and it was just kind of sad.
Yes.
Ylva
is so good.
So amazing.
She's not into the show very much, but she was a good character. We might see more of her later. No, don't know, but yeah, she was good. She was a really good character, and she was trying her best to keep it together.
She took her sadness out by slaying whales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. We don't get much in this part of the story. I don't know if it's just because I don't know if maybe it's due to it being in a shonen manga for so long. But there are some really strong females later on in the series. Ylva's great. I love her so much. She's like, I am sad by what happened to my father and that my brother's missing, but I have to be strong for my mother and can't show weakness. And I'm just gonna go kill a whale. Fuck it.
There's a whale in the harbor.
I love Ylva. She's so good.
What else? I thought the animation was really at times super nice, and at times kind of weird. They're not real good at drawing horses. That's for sure. There were some shots. You agree?
Yes, because I would say I also recently watched the part 2 of the 3rd season of Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
More terrible horses.
Yeah, they just look really
Anime
awkward.
Cannot do horses.
Yeah, Wit Studio needs to work on that.
Wit Studio just commits to doing CG for horses, and it's kind of how they do things.
They might just want to start like rotoscoping them or something. Anything to get them a little more less awkward looking.
I don't know what they can do.
They are getting rid of the hardest part to draw of humans, which is hands, and just replacing it with the entire horse. So for the art for Vinland Saga, first of all, the scenery was easily the best part of the show.
It's epic.
It looked phenomenal almost every single shot. The scenery, loved it. I thought the CG water actually looked pretty good. The CG Vikings, not so much. For being a 24 episode series, though, most of the time the quality held up. The major thing that I wanted to bring up, though, was the fights. I thought almost all the fights were super underwhelming. Whether it be the sound or the animation, like I've rarely felt like impact behind some of the scenes. Like when I think back to Demon Slayer and like that stomach punch, like that's the level of like strength and impact. I was looking out for these big old Viking boys, but something seemed like just very tinny and like soft about it. And the worst thing though is it's Wit Studio. Like I wanted Sakuga. There was like no Sakuga in this thing. Like there was the one fight between Thorfinn and Thorkel on the bridge where the camera was whipping around. Thorfinn was whipping around. Thorkel was doing something. He was being a big boy. Yes. But there was very few like scenes where I was like, man, this animation is fluid. It's crisp. It's wild. Like it's just like it looked fine most of the time, but I wanted a couple big moments to be like, wow, look at the grandeur. What studio poured time into this scene? And I just didn't feel like I got a lot of that.
You didn't think it was powerful when Thorkel threw a spear and impaled like 12 people on it?
That was a pretty great scene.
I mean, that guy's a crazy. He's a crazy mofo. I mean, and he I don't know. He just like he gets for some reason his power level goes up by at least 10% after he puts the eye patch on. I don't know why, but he was just like.
I liked when he was just dropping logs on the ship.
Yeah, he's
just a sea of upturned things. So
I hope Thorkel doesn't kind of like become like a backseat character going forward. I could see it happening. You know, I guess we'll have to find out, but
Man,
kind of
Thorkel
worry
is
about
such a
that.
meme, and I love him. I feel like Thorkel, whenever he comes up, he's the meme of the show, and I'm just, God, I love him so much.
Can we just have? I just want to have Thorkel and Guts have a fight.
Oh shit,
I think that would just be awesome.
that'd be interesting.
I think they would just end up becoming buddies, and then they would just get really drunk. But you know, it'd be pretty cool.
I feel like I'd give it to Guts just because he's got more weaponry, but who knows?
Yeah, he does have the crossbow and stuff.
I don't know. Have you seen how far Thorkel can chuck a boulder?
Yeah, he threw that
True.
spear. He threw that spear like 10 miles with intense accuracy.
Without even being able to see the dude, he's just like, I hear them in the distance. And he whoops this. When the guy was like crawling over the bank and just got plowed in the face. Anyway, were you about to say something, Mandy?
Yeah, I was gonna say one thing. This more so for the manga, but also going into the anime. What I love so much is how much attention to detail and respect that Makoto put into Vinland Saga for the armor, the architecture, the weapons, the boats. Everything is done with such a great amount of care for the time that this is based on. And prior to writing Vinland Saga, he took a 2-year trip to Iceland back in 2003 to prepare for Vinland Saga so he could do all of this research. And he was actually invited back later on to an Icelandic cultural festival to talk about his manga and sign books. But yeah, like there is a YouTube video by I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong. I think it's Shadiversity. It's Shadiversity. He does a series called Crimes Against Medieval Realism, and he looks at cartoons, looks at comic books, looks at video games, and see like how accurate are these based on like the time and what would have been used. And he was overall very pleased with what he saw in the first episode of Vinland Saga, and he looked at the PV for the trailer for the rest of the series. And if you watch that video, you can find he goes more into detail about all of the different kinds of armor and stuff that they use. But yeah, I thought I love it. I thought they did such a great job. I thought everything looked good, and I thought I don't know. I thought the animation was pretty decent.
I thought
overall,
so too.
There's some weird moments here or there, but overall, I thought it was pretty good.
I mean, there's a lot to handle in this. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not like a show where like two kids talking to school for the whole time. You know, this is like
Yeah.
tons of soldiers. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. Like, I feel like there are anime where like I always say, oh, well, the animation was okay, but you know, like they didn't really need a lot, you know, to do what they were doing. This show, they needed a lot. Like they're killing each other for, I don't know, half the runtime. So I mean, there's a lot of need to have solid movement, and I thought it looked really well. I mean, boy, it must have been an expensive show to make, and just considering how much has to go into it, and you know. It's not Ghibli, you know. It's not KyoAni, you know, level, but like I thought it was really good and
I was
challenging.
Very worried going in because the action in the manga is spectacular. Some of the best action I've seen in manga. So I was very worried. Yeah, I don't know. I think the action in the manga is still probably better, but I don't know. I thought it was decent. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Music. What do you guys think of the
And
OPs?
those OPs.
Yeah, the OPs are good.
I did not like the OPs at all.
Oh, I thought they were really good.
So, like, I like Man on the Mission's OP for like Inuyashiki, but they did the second OP, and that OP, I thought the song was just kind of bland, but all the shots were just reused show footage. I thought that was so lazy and drab. The first OP I thought was just, it had better imagery, but it was kind of whatever. The first ED was so forgettable, but the second ED, Drown, was, oh, that was amazing. I loved the second ED a bunch. I was upset every time that Amazon, which is where I watched this,
they just
would jump
cut
to the
it.
next episode without letting it play out. I was like, oh no, I wanted to hear more of that. Ooh, I was digging it so much. They didn't do like the ED at the beginning and like the OP at the end of like the final episode, which some shows do, which means like I instantly knew that like it was like it wouldn't be like a high octane like finale. It would happen before then. But I thought the show is mainly like composed and it's just a solitary piano. And I thought that was exquisite. Like there were so many just like gentle, just plinky piano notes, and that like moments of that with the previously mentioned like scenery, like when those two were paired up, I was like, bliss, this is like top what I wanted to see. Like not Vikings, not anyone, blinky little pianos, beautiful scenery. That's what I came to this show for.
Piano's so versatile. I mean, you can do just insane amounts with it. I'm glad you appreciate it.
I dug it. I thought it was good.
I don't know. I like the first two. I like both the OPs. Maybe I like the songs though.
The one guy, it got kind of screamo, and I'm just like, I was like,
oh yeah, the first one.
I was just like
the prophet or something like that.
Yeah, and so I
it looked like Thorfinn was screaming.
I was screaming along with him.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know. I liked it.
It was like off-brand. Who did the Hunter x Hunter ones? Fear and Loathing. It was like it was off-brand version of that. I just didn't get into it. And yeah, the second OP, if you just watched it like at the beginning, you would have been spoiled on a bunch of stuff. And I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Big sad.
I did think it was
Anything else?
no, I mean I thought it was a little. I kept thinking it was kind of strange that Thorfinn could take on Thorkel, but he can't take on Askeladd. I know Askeladd kind of has his number, but I mean, the Askeladd sure as hell wasn't going to fight Thorkel. So
I don't know. Thorkel tossed that boy up in the air.
Yeah,
he
but he
booted him like half a football field up in the air.
Yeah, but I mean, he had like deep slices on all of his limbs, and he lost an eye. I mean, that's.
Well, that's because Askeladd
told him,
He's
yeah.
Well, I guess so. I guess you're right.
Also, I love when Askeladd is flexing on Thorfinn at the end when he's just like, it's taken you 10 years to commit the one thing you live for, and you've failed this entire time. I did what you did in 2 years when I was a babby boy. You are a dummy. You will never amount to anything. Grow up, please. Okay, bye.
Oh, yeah.
Olaf.
Olaf.
That was
that
a great
guy's
scene.
Olaf is a bad guy. Mandi, you said everyone's kind of gray. I don't know about that. Olaf is kind of an asshole. I mean, he's pretty. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, oh, I love these concubines. She's my wife. And then the minute she gets sick or whatever, he throws her in the stable. I mean, that guy's an ass. I mean, he is bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
But he takes him in eventually. He can't be all bad. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying he's just as bad as everyone else. Not necessarily impressively so.
And I kind of thought that Olaf was used to paint a contrast between Askeladd. Like it's like, oh, Thorfinn is kind of to Askeladd as Askeladd is to Olaf. And in that towards the end they had like the 10 minutes of backstory or whatever for Askeladd, and I just thought like it's like Askeladd is nowhere near as bad as Olaf. Like Thorfinn, it could be worse. Like your life does suck, but it could be worse. Like this is the world you live in, but other people have suffered more than you have. And I don't know, I guess that was kind of what he was trying to
I guess Olaf did train Askeladd though.
Yeah, he did train him. He got him into the family. He had a good relationship with his brothers. Like he had a support system.
But I mean, okay. Yeah, all right. Yes,
we're comparing two awful situations and saying, they don't have it bad. I'm agreeing and disagreeing with everything.
All right, I don't have much else to say about it. I mean, I probably do, but like we don't have all day. I wish we did.
I liked Askeladd's very complex relationship with the rest of the Vikings because like he does make friends there, and it's interesting because like he makes friends with some of the other Vikings that he's in charge of, but still like despises them for like the horrors he has witnessed and can't forgive them. So I don't know. I thought his relationship with them is pretty interesting. I've talked a lot about Askeladd.
One more note I would just say about the characters is that how is it that like not a single character in this whole show has gray hair? I think maybe
Leaf has it.
Leaf did maybe at the end,
Yeah,
but like but like there's so many old people in the show and like none of them have gray hair. Even the king of the Danes, I don't remember his name, but even he didn't have gray hair. That guy's got to be.
I thought he had a little bit. Swen.
His hair was black as night. I mean, that guy, he probably would have had gray hair in reality. I mean, he was like probably in his late 60s. I don't know. Just a strange comment. Anybody want to?
Saying how old Askeladd was, I don't remember. Because I was thinking, aren't they all pretty relatively young?
Like I could see it being like a.
Yeah, he's only 44 when he died.
I think it's one of those things where they're all old because people don't live that long in those days. But like old is still not.
I guess. Well, yeah, especially
that's a fair point though.
They're murdering each other. Of course, they don't live a long time. But I thought Thorkel said he was in his 50s, but I could have misread that.
Man,
anybody
if
want
to look like that when I'm 50? Worth it.
Anybody want to score this show?
I can go first. That way the scores can go up.
Oh no. Here goes Mason.
I liked the show. I recommend the show. I had fun watching this show. I think it had a slowdown part from like episodes 14 to 23 where it just wasn't as much of greatness as I was expecting. It was all still good. The show had so much going for it, but I think at the end of the day, it just doesn't live up to the magic that the manga had. Like something about it just wasn't there. And while everything about it was good, it just felt like, ooh, it's just not hitting the note. And I think that's kind of an unfair bar for me to expect it to clear. But nonetheless, it left me with a sense of like unfilled potential. And I mean, it's weird because I think the show ended at the proper point. I'm super eager for season 2. And I just hope Wit like takes their time with this and comes back with an even stronger thing. I don't know. I appreciate almost everything they did, but something about it just was just missing for me. And I just can't wait to see more of it, despite my kind of iffy response. So I'm going to give this a 3.5 drunken priests out of 5.
All right. I enjoyed Vinland Saga quite a lot. I always binge everything for the most part. It's pretty rare that I've like watched a show already. I'm always behind, it seems, and normally it's really tough to get through a show that's this long, but it wasn't tough at all for Vinland Saga, and my girlfriend and I watched it, and we both loved it. It does slow down a little. I don't know if the slowdown was that big for me, but maybe it was. I can't remember the episodes, but I feel like there were about 5 episodes or 6 episodes in there where I thought, oh, it's getting a little slow, but like, I mean, at the end of the day, I think they wanted the show to end at that specific point that they did, and that's why they slowed it down. And it wasn't like it was painful or anything like that. I really enjoyed it. I really think that anybody that just, aside from the people that just need to have like wholesome nonviolence, pretty much everyone's gonna like this. You know, it's perfect for the Berserk crowd. It's perfect for like just people who generally love action. And there just aren't that many shows, I feel like, that just carry such an epic feel to them throughout. And I really loved it. I mean, I thought it was great. Probably the best show of the year for me. I'm gonna give it. Man, I feel like I could come up with something really funny. I'm gonna give it 5 decapitated horses.
Ooh.
Were there decapitated horses? Did I miss that?
I don't know. Someone killed a horse somewhere.
That would have offset the score negative from the Naruto run.
All right. 5 uppercut punched horses because Thorkel definitely uppercut punches a
Thorkel does
horse.
punch a horse.
He
He definitely
does.
punches a horse right in the chest, and I did think for a second, there's no freaking way he could do that. And then I remembered that like these are Dynasty Warriors characters where like you know he's like Zhang Fei, and he's just gonna go through a crowd and kill 300 people with a giant spear, and he is what he is. And Oscalod and Thorkel and Thorfinn and maybe one other in there somewhere, they're just Dynasty Warriors characters just slaughtering people, and they're supposed to be heroes from like history, and we don't know how badass they were. They could have been the most badass people ever, so I can't really challenge it that much. But yeah, he did uppercut a horse while I was running.
The AAA podcast does not condone animal cruelty or violence. Please don't do this. I'm just saying this now.
Those sagas have some crazy feats of like people picking up boats and carrying them on their backs. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that happened
There's
as
a
well.
lot of crazy stories about Vikings.
Yeah, people were a lot tougher back then. We're kind of wimpy nowadays, it seems.
I mean, some of us were born with Viking souls. But God, I love Vinland Saga so much, guys. Maybe I'm coming at this as a super biased view. I'm pretty sure I am. But I do agree that the manga is better, in my opinion. But if you aren't really into manga, I think they did a fantastic job adapting it. There's just a few little points here and there that I'm like, yeah, the manga's a little bit better with this. But I'm super excited for the next season. I love Thorkel. I want more Thorkel goodness in my life. And I know when we did our best anime of the decade, and we did 2019, I said Demon Slayer is my top one. God, Vinland Saga is real close, guys, and I hadn't finished it at that point. But I think I'm going to give it 4.5 Thorkel muscles.
Thorkel muscles.
I love Thorkel, guys.
You know, when I gave it a 5, like I thought, I gave Your Lie in April a 5, and I enjoyed this more than that, so that's why I gave it a 5. It's not perfect, and you might think, 5 out of 5 means it has to be perfect, but I don't think there is an anime that's perfect. I don't know that there is.
No,
And
there's always some criticism. You can make of everything.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I
Ping
mean,
pong
Mason.
is perfect. Ping pong is perfect. Ooh, it's so good.
I don't know, maybe Grave of the Fireflies or something, but like I don't know. It seems like nothing's perfect, and I did enjoy this more than other shows I've given a 5 to.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I really want to give it a 5. I don't know. It's hard. I probably later on I'll rethink it and be like, man, I should have. But
You should just embrace your bias and just go for it.
I should just embrace my bias. You know what? Fuck it. It's a 5.
There we go.
There ain't no anime police out there to stop me. You know what? Scores don't even fucking matter. It's a 5.
Okay, there you go. All right, that's gonna just about do it, I think.
Yeah.
I'm doing the quick math. If someone wants to read off the listener scores,
13.5 divided by 3.
regardless whether you gave it a 4.5 or a 5, Mandy, it would end up to a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah. The listener score average was a 4.
Yeah, well,
And
that
we only
feels-
got a few comments. Like we got like out of the listener scores, there were like we didn't have very many. We got 11 total or something like that, and yeah, most of them were 4s and 5s, and there were a couple low ones in there. But
So we're reviewing this pretty close after it ended up airing. So I wonder if people just need the time to get around to it and watch it, which they should. I mean,
Amazon Prime as well, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people had this as their in contention or actually the anime of the year. People agree this is the manga's better, but anime had its moments. And everyone was pretty positive on it.
At this point, I'm actually like blown away when people don't have Amazon Prime. I don't even know how. I don't even know how I would survive at this point without it.
Same.
And the customer service is freaking unreal. Just a side note.
Amazon sponsor us, please. And with that, I
Yes.
think that will do it.
Hey,
for
next
episode, go for it.
next week, Modal Zushi.
Heck
Sorry.
yeah. Get
Cut you
excited,
off, buddy.
people. And the
Get those cornettos.
we need to have I want everyone listening to also go out and buy your ice cream bars
Yeah.
so you can join us as we eat them while we review the show.
Oh, is that a thing? We're doing that?
We sure can.
Oh boy, how many macros are in a friggin' Nestle?
It's probably healthy
Nestle
for you.
drumstick.
It's probably not that bad.
I don't know,
We
man.
got the Health Club on the Discord. Anyway,
Yeah.
episode 505, Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast, is over. Slams gavel on the table.
Oh wow.
But will not force sound. And as always, you can find us at the AAApodcast.com, where you can find all the links to all the stuff for all the knickknacks and cool recordings. We're going to record some extra bonus content now, and we hope you get to listen to it because it's always a fun time. iTunes, please give us our reviews that we so eagerly want. And Facebook and Discord, and you know the drill by now, people. Thanks everyone who joined us live, and that will do it. We'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.